19-year-old homemaker Amy Magliazzo is suing factory worker Michael Conroy for running over her 2-year-old son Dylan. Michael says Amy was negligent.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 453 on the calendar in the matter of Magliazzo versus Conroy. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Magliazzo, this is your son. Tell me his name.
Dylan Magliazzo.
Dylan. All right, he's going to stand right behind you. According to your complaint, your son was run over by the defendant in a parking lot.
Right.
Is there somebody who can take care of him outside?
My brother.
Well, do you want to take him outside and let your brother take care of him?
Mommy.
Good. According to your complaint, the defendant ran over your son's leg in a parking lot. He was in a truck, and you want him to pay your medical bills and for your son's pain and suffering.
Right.
Mr. Conroy said, in effect, you should have been watching him more closely as he was running around the parking lot. I might have responded somewhat differently, Mr. Conroy. What kind of truck were you driving that day, sir?
A Dodge pickup truck.
Big truck.
Half-ton.
And your son suffered no broken legs, is that right, madam?
Right.
If a half-ton truck ran over a 2-year-old's leg, which according to you happened, that child would not have walked out of this courtroom today.
Well, he did.
Impossible. Impossible for him to have run over the child's leg with a half-ton truck and not had a broken bone. And if he did, he was a very lucky little boy. Very lucky. So if he was so lucky, what I want to know from you is, why are you here?
First of all, when he did hit my son...
Just a second, let's go back. So you're really going to go through with this. You're in a parking lot, is that right? What were you doing in the parking lot?
My son wasn't running around
What were you doing in the parking lot?
Standing out front. My son wanted to watch
Shh! You were standing out front of what?
the parking lot where my son's father lives.
You have a picture of where this happened?
I do.
Can I see it, please? What time of the year was this?
August.
So there was no snow on the ground like there is in this picture. I want you to have her take a pen, Bird, and mark down where she was standing with the child at first, and then where the child was allegedly run over by the defendant. Where she was standing?
Right here.
And where the child was run over by the...
Right here.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's where she was, and that's where she says the child was hit.
So you tell me what happened, madam. You're standing outside the parking lot with your son.
Right. And my son wanted to watch the electric company. They were putting power lines there. He wanted to see the big trucks. So we're standing out there. My son's...
How many people? You, your son, and who else?
10 or 12 other people.
Were there other children?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My son had walked away from me, and I went to go grab him. And Mr. Conroy pulled in the parking lot and then reversed his truck back. Obviously didn't look in his mirrors to see that my son was behind his truck. Hit my son in his head, knocked him over, then was on top of my son's leg. Me and my son's father were screaming and yelling, banging on the man's truck to get off my son's leg. He just looked at us like he didn't know what was going on or anything. Like, it's not even that he didn't know what was going on. We told him, you're on my son's leg, get off my son's leg, and he just looked at us like we were out of it. And finally, after the electric company, the guys from the electric company ran over and everybody ran over, I think he finally realized he was on my son's leg. Well, he pulled his truck up, got off my son's leg, not coming over to see if my son's okay, if he hurt my son, not asking.
When he got off your son's leg, who picked up your son?
I did.
Then did you put him down on the ground?
No.
You didn't let him walk to see if he was okay?
Oh, I picked him up, yeah, and he couldn't even stand on his leg. His leg was like that swollen. Mm-hmm. I then immediately took him to the emergency room.
Mm-hmm. Why weren't you watching him more carefully?
I was watching him.
No, you weren't.
He obviously wasn't watching where he's going because he
You
knows
weren't-
kids
listen
are
to-
in that parking lot
Listen
every
to
day.
me, madam. You weren't watching him carefully enough.
So that gives him the right to not...
Listen to me, madam. You weren't watching him carefully enough. How old was he?
2.
And you're in a parking lot, is that right?
In front of a parking
You're in a parking lot.
Right.
Now, I have 8 grandchildren, and I'm still have sufficient brain power to remember when my children were little. When my children were little and I had a 2-year-old, or when I'm walking around with one of my 2-year-old grandchildren in a parking lot, they hold my
He did have my hand.
He did have your hand?
Yeah, and he
Oh,
let go of
well
my
then,
hand.
shh, quiet. He did have your hand. Then is what you're telling me that when Mr. Conroy hit him and knocked him over, you were holding on to his hand?
No.
So you weren't holding his hand?
No. Before.
Right. What I'm saying to you, madam, is when I'm in a parking lot with my 2-year-old grandchild, or I see my children walking with their children when we pull into a parking lot, we're going someplace, they run out, grab the hand, because they know they're not allowed to cross a street without holding somebody's hand. They're not allowed to be in a parking lot without holding somebody's hand. So
Right, but
you
if-
weren't holding his hand.
I mean, if you drive a truck, don't you look in your mirrors to see if there's anybody behind you?
I'm not saying that he's without fault. I'm saying to me, you seem to think it's all his fault, and it's not.
Oh, I know it's...
You're the parent. It's primarily your fault. Now, should he have been watching where he was going? Absolutely. And should he have been more careful if he saw a lot of other people there? Absolutely. And sometimes there's a little child dart out so that even if you are careful, you could miss him? Absolutely. You're not supposed to miss him. That's your only job.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How am I to know if he was drunk?
How am I to know you weren't drunk?
Oh, I was
Yeah, only a
drunk.
parent who might be drunk or under the influence of something would let a 2-year-old march around by himself in a parking lot. That's what you did. That's what you did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Magliazzo says her 2-year-old son Dylan was run over by Michael Conroy. Michael says the boy was running around in the parking lot of a bar.
Your only job and his father's only job that day was to make sure that your 2-year-old was holding on to an adult's hand in a parking lot. Right?
Right.
Right. And if you weren't, so that you were acting irresponsibly as a parent, and if you're lucky enough to have gotten away with a warning from God that this is what can happen to you. You can lose your child if you're not more careful, because he wasn't hurt, because he clearly walked out of here.
He has sleeping problems.
That's
Nightmares.
your problem.
No, it's not.
Well, whose is it? His?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that's what a lawyer told you. Did you go to see a lawyer?
Yeah.
Now, what'd the lawyer tell you? Pretty much the same thing as what I'm telling you? That's why you're here. Where he says you have a child in a parking lot. You're supposed to hold their hand.
Does that give him the right to not see
It's
if
not a matter of right. Don't you seem to get it? He's driving in a truck, and I'm not saying he's without blame. You walked in here saying to me it's all his fault. He ran over my child. He didn't care. He was callous. We kept knocking on the window. You think that this man had a predetermined position to knock your son over, a 2-year-old over, run him over, and when you were banging at the door to tell him to get off your son, that he said, hell with them, I'm just going to keep my truck on his legs.
No, because how am I to know if he was drunk?
How are you to know? I don't know. How am I to know you weren't drunk?
Oh, well, I was
Yeah, only a
drunk.
parent who might be drunk or under the influence of something would let a 2-year-old march around by himself in a parking lot. That's what you did. That's what you did. Now let me see the medical bills and let me see the report from the police.
One of the medical bills was already paid.
Good.
By his
That's what
insurance
you're supposed to
company.
do. Then I'll get to you, Mr. Conroy. Now, when did the police contact you, Mr. Conroy?
About an hour and a half to 2 hours after the accident.
Why did you go home?
I waited around about 45 minutes to an hour. Police to come, talk to the father. I said, if anybody comes, contact me.
Okay. Final reports. No fracture, no dislocation, and everything else is normal there. Then we go to 3 days later. They also found nothing wrong with the child at that point, and you took the child in there because you said he was having trouble sleeping.
He was waking up crying, saying the truck.
The reason that you could not get a lawyer to take your case is because your son was not injured. Not every act requires people to take the matter a step further and bring on a lawsuit. You should feel, as I indicated before to you, very, very lucky that despite what could have happened to your son, because you were not vigilant in taking care of him, and because Mr. Conroy probably should have been more careful when he was driving his truck when he saw other kids and people around in the parking lot, despite that, your son was not hurt. The only thing that was reported by you was 3 days later, you went back to the hospital and you said he's having trouble sleeping. That's why you could not get a lawyer to take your case, because in order for there to be liability, there has to be an injury, and there was none. Now, it's possible that your son's going to have, even at his age, a bad recollection for a while about what happened when he was knocked down by a truck. That's possible, but it will pass.
Right.
He was 2 years old. And it will pass.
But it's a sleeping disorder. It's a post-traumatic sleeping disorder.
Let me explain something to you, madam. Don't tell me what it is. Are you a psychiatrist?
No, but that's what the doctors...
I'm not interested in what you tell me that the doctors say, because that's not what it says here. And I'm telling you, you're going to have another baby?
Yes.
This is your second child?
Third.
Third child. How old are you?
19.
19. I would suggest that you pay more careful attention to your children at age 19. It's your job to take care of them. At 19, you shouldn't have 3 children to begin with. If you have to take care of them.
I do take care of my kids.
And not put the responsibility of taking care of your children onto somebody else. It was not his responsibility to watch out for your child in the parking lot that day. It was your responsibility and his child's father. And the fact that there was almost an accident, a tragic accident, because your son could have been really hurt or killed or worse, is not his fault. It's your fault. He is partially responsible, and if the child was hurt, I might have found him partially responsible for the child's medical bills.
So it's okay.
But he was not hurt. And for that, you should say, thank God, and not bring a lawsuit. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
20-year-old student Emily Sievers is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old electrician Anthony Shizeski, for throwing 2 knives at her. Emily says the knives missed her, but they hit her car.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 278 on the calendar in the matter of Sievers versus Shizeski. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Ms. Sievers, the defendant was a former boyfriend of yours?
Yes,
is that right?
yes.
It is your claim that he assaulted you and then damaged your car. This was after you had already broken up with each other.
Yes.
The defendant says that you caused him to get severely beaten by your current boyfriend, and that while he did, in frustration, throw a rock at your car, causing a small dent, he didn't do the kind of damage to your car that you were also alleging, right?
That's correct.
When did you stop seeing each other?
I moved out of the apartment that we were sharing in the 5th of December of 2001.
And when did this altercation take place that resulted in you being injured?
Monday, June 10th of 2002.
And when was the last time you had contact with each other, prior to June?
I would say in March.
So between March and June, you had no contact at all?
We have mutual friends, so we've seen each other, but we really hadn't hung out or talked very much since then.
Is that right, sir?
No, there wasn't no contact since March.
For a long time?
Yeah.
She had a new boyfriend, you had a new girlfriend?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I have not had a boyfriend since him. So whoever, the people that did assault him, it was not my boyfriend, they were friends.
Friends of yours?
Yes, and friends of his up until that incident.
Well, why don't you tell me your version of the incident of June 10th?
Okay, it started off, myself, my witness, Laura Klingsick, Joe, Mike, and Robbie were all friends. We're at Mike's house, just talking, hanging out. It was probably approximately 9 o'clock at night. Anthony and a few of his friends were walking down the street on the opposite side of the house that we were at.
Do you live on that block, sir?
No, I was currently at a friend's house. He was having a get-together for his birthday, and I'd walked down there. And I'd parked my car on the other side of the street.
Okay, go ahead.
JoJo had heard things that Anthony had allegedly said, and I guess had made them both mad at each other. When he came walking down the street with his friends, JoJo approached the end of the driveway. Tony walked across the street. Some words were said, and they began to fight.
Did you cross over from one side of the street to the other,
I
sir?
met the fellow in the middle of the street.
In the middle of the street?
Yeah, he came after me, and it wasn't by the driveway. It was kind of catty-cornered.
Why did you go into the middle of the street?
He was arguing and yelling with me, and before me and him were friends, and I was trying to see what he was, coming across that, and then that's when he lunged forward and attacked me.
Okay, go ahead.
They began fighting, and I was going to try to break it up, and my witness told me, stay out of it, let Mike handle it, it's in front of his house. So I stepped back. I did let Mike go up and handle it. He broke it up, told both of them to, leave. At that point in time, I saw that Mike and Tony began to fight. And
Mike and Tony?
Yes.
So the person that went over to try to break up the fight
Yes.
started to fight with the defendant?
Because Anthony would not leave.
What did he say, I'm not leaving?
He just stood there. He wouldn't leave.
So what did Mike do?
I did not see who hit who first.
Oh, okay, so you didn't see.
Mm-mm.
Go ahead.
But I did see them fighting. I went down there. I was screaming for them to stop. They were fighting very aggressively. Anthony got brought to the ground, and I saw that he was very badly hurt. He was bleeding.
Where was the other fellow who had originally confronted the
He was standing back. It was just Mike and Anthony fighting at that point in time.
So what happened next? You went over and started to scream.
I screamed for them to stop. At that point in time, Mike did walk away. Anthony was on the ground. I went to help Anthony up. I saw Mike come back towards him. He kicked him, and at that point in time...
Who kicked who?
Mike kicked Anthony while he was on the ground.
Yes.
At that point in time, Mike walked away. I did grab Anthony's arms to help him up, getting blood head to toe on myself. When he did get almost up to his feet, he pushed me away and told me to get off of him, using some obscenities. At that point in time, he began to walk down towards his car. Myself and his friends that were walking with him walked to his car also. At that point in time, he was in his car. I leaned in to see if he was okay, and he sped off with me halfway, still hanging in the car. His two friends that were with him asked me if I could take them home, and I said yes. So I grabbed my witness, Laura, and we got into the car. They said, can we stop by his house to see if he was okay? And I said, yeah, sure. So I stopped by there. I let them out. They went inside. I waited outside. I was parked in the street in front of his house. I began to get a little scared. When they went in, I saw Anthony busting out his bedroom window with his fists, and it came crashing down onto the ground. At that point in time, Anthony did come out with two objects in his hands, and he began to throw them at me. I ducked, and I do have pictures here of where I was standing in reference to where the knife hit. It slashed the car, and the other knife landed directly behind me, so if I would not have ducked, it would have hit me in my face.
Where were you assaulted? I haven't heard anything about your assault yet.
I was assaulted when I helped him up off the ground. He pushed me away, and when I was hanging in his car, he took off without,
How were you assaulted? I didn't hear anything about you being injured.
Well, I was...
what?
I was not injured physically, but mentally. The knife...
Well, forget mental. Forget mental. I'm not dealing with your mental injury. I don't believe you were assaulted at all. I believe you got involved in a very hot situation.
Well, I don't believe that the hot situation should have led to knives being thrown at my face.
That's not what we're talking about, madam. We're talking about assault on you. And if you went to help him up, and he's already been beaten by one person, he's down on the ground, another person who went over there to help him comes back and kicks him. You, according to you, go over to help him up, and he is covered with blood and, according to you, severely injured, and he pushed you away, and you're not hurt, you're not injured. Why would you sue him for assault?
Well, I believe...
You're in the heat of a moment. You went and followed him to the car. He gets into the car. He's all bloody. According to you, you're really worried about him. He doesn't want to stop and talk to you. He wants to have nothing to do with you. You're touching his car.
The fight was not because of me. I did not
Who
start
knows
the
whether
fight.
it was because of you or not? All I know is you weren't hurt, because if you were hurt, you wouldn't have gotten in your car, driven over to his house. You would have gotten in your car and driven to a hospital.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't understand why you went to his house.
Taking his friends home, they asked me
Just
to
a
stop.
second. Let somebody else take his friends home. Madam, why would you go to his house? Don't understand that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Emily Seaver says ex-boyfriend Anthony Shizeski threw two knives at her in a fit of rage. Anthony says he only threw a rock.
Okay. Your turn.
What?
You
Your
pled
Honor,
guilty.
I pled guilty.
To what?
To throwing a rock at her car.
And you did throw a rock at her car.
I did throw a rock
When?
at her car out of Out of frustration, at the time, she did pull up to my house. She was blocking my driveway, would not let me leave. I needed to go to the hospital. I repeatedly told her, please let me leave. I need to get out of here. She refused to. My brother asked her to leave. My mother asked her to leave. The two guys that she supposedly brought over asked her, you need to move out of the way. She's blocking my driveway. So at that point, I began walking to another friend's house so I could go and have medical treatment. I got pictures showing how badly beat I was. This is 2 weeks after
I'd like to see
the
it,
incident.
please.
Those pictures there show what happened. That was 2 weeks after.
No question. She says you were very badly injured. What was the fight about?
I'm not really 100% sure.
Well, let me try to bring you back a second. You're crossing the street in order to get to Jojo. Is that his name?
Yes,
Joe.
that's his name.
And Joe was crossing the street. Whatever. You get together. Joe starts to say something, and you end up in a brawl. What did Joe say to you?
He was accusing me, I think, of messing around with one of his ex-girlfriends or whatnot, and at that time I was already involved in another relationship.
So that argument had absolutely nothing to do with the plaintiff?
Nothing.
Now, what happened when Mike came outside?
Me and JoJo had got up off the ground. Mike approached me, said, I don't want fighting in front of my house. My child's here. No fighting. I said, yes, I understand. At that time, her witness...
Just that kind of calm, right?
Well, not really
No.
that kind of calm.
Okay.
I mean, there was a little bit of frustration going on. But at that time, her witness had grabbed Mike's child and carried her into the house. And I kind of noticed that. And when I noticed that, that's exactly when Mike turned around and punched me. I fell to the ground. He punched me again. I was trying to get up, and that's when he kicked me. Finally, you know, there was a break to where I could get up, and I went to my car, and I went immediately home. I was bleeding badly, really badly, so I wanted to go home, let my mom know what was going on, go to the hospital. That time she shows up, will not leave. I'm asking her nicely, please leave. Finally,
Well, what
you know,
was
she's
she
not...
saying to you?
I couldn't really make out what she was saying. I mean, at that time, I was so badly kicked and punched. I mean, my face was swollen. I couldn't even make out objects to really see. I mean, I just know she was there. I asked her to leave. There was no reason for her to be there.
Well, when you said to her, I'm asking you to leave, you didn't say, would you please leave?
No,
So
I didn't say it like
Yeah, I
that.
mean-
I was being...
Well, you said, get out of here, you cursed, whatever else.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she did not leave.
No, she denied to. She said, no, she's not leaving. She's staying there. You know,
No,
I
that
mean,
doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound like she would say, I'm not leaving, I'm just staying here.
well, I mean, I don't know
Go
if
ahead,
that's...
what?
Okay, I have a witness that can justify that the only time he asked us to leave was after he threw the knives at me, and the only reason why I would not leave after he threw the knives was because I had already called the police.
I don't understand why you went to his house. Madam.
Taking his friends home, they asked me
Just
to
a
stop.
second. Let somebody else take his friends home. I don't understand why you, who just told me you were assaulted twice, once when he knocked you over, when he pushed you away, once when he sped off and you were hanging onto the car, why in the world didn't you just mind your own business? Why would you go to his house? Don't understand that.
Well, I was sitting out in the street. I didn't believe that.
Why would you go to his house?
To drop off his friends to make sure that they
Why
were
would
okay.
you get involved? Who does he live with?
He lives with his mom.
Okay. His mother can take care of him. She took care of him from the time he was born. What did you go to his house for?
I also wanted to make sure he was okay. I was waiting for his friends
Call
to come
his
out.
house.
He did not have a phone.
His mother doesn't have a phone? Mm-mm. I don't believe that. I believe it's a lot of who shot John.
I mean, she had a cell phone, but I did not know the number.
Listen carefully to me. You take the friends home and drop them off because you say, I don't want to be involved with him. He's a lunatic. He assaulted me twice. Why would I go and sit in front of his driveway?
It was a spur of the moment thinking. It was
Spur of the moment.
It
I'm a
was a
spur of the
stupid-
moment girl. Listen, let me see the car and let me see the estimate. He already told me he pled guilty to damaging your car. Over that, I have very, very little latitude, sir. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
Also, Your Honor, there was 2 knives found right next to the car. One of them was broken, and it is in the police report.
How did this moonroof get broken?
The knife, the velocity of the knife that it was thrown at.
How much did the insurance company pay? This is a relatively new car.
My deductible is $500.
Good, so that's what it cost you. Minimally, you at least put yourself into harm's way. I don't know what part you had to do with all of this once you drove his friends home. I know that it was very poor judgment on your part, considering the fact that 2 different people had escalated into a bad fight where he was, according to you, severely injured, and you should have stayed away. Why you got involved in the heat of the moment, I don't know, but you put yourself in harm's way by going to his house. What you should have done is, if there was damage to your car, you go through your insurance, you let them fix it, you have a $500 deductible, and he pays the deductible, so it doesn't cost you anything, which is exactly what I plan on doing. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Period. That's all. Bye-bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Throwing knives at someone is a very scary thing.
She's extremely jealous of me from the very moment that we first got together.
If he would have asked me to leave and I knew that he was that upset, I would have left.
Watch who you're dating.
23-year-old information operator Aisha Austin is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old public safety equipment installer Marcus Wynn, for vandalism and for stealing her property.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 413 on the calendar, the matter of Austin versus Wynn. Thank you. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Miss Austin, the defendant is your former boyfriend, according to the complaint that I've read, and you lived together for a period of time. Is that right?
That's correct.
According to you, you had an argument with him. During that argument, he assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
Later, he went out and vandalized your car, destroyed your property that was inside your house, then came back into your house at a later date, broke into your house, destroyed some more property. Mr. Wynn says that he never assaulted you. As a matter of fact, you assaulted him, that you destroyed your own property, vandalized your own car because you had a hissy fit, and he doesn't owe you a dime. Is that right, sir?
Just about right.
I didn't ask you anything yet.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Miss Austin, how long did you live together?
We lived together for about 8 months.
Did he move into your house, or did you move into his, or did you take a place together?
Well, the lease was in my name, but he moved in with me at the same time as I moved in.
When did you have this argument?
The argument started November 26th on our way home from work.
Okay, well, what happened on the 26th of November?
We were on our way home from picking up the kids from school, and we were talking, and we
Well, were you on the way home from work or school?
Well, we was on our way home from work, but on the way home from work, we pick up the children from daycare and from my sister's house.
Whose children?
My children, my 2 sons.
Were they in the car when you had this argument?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
4 and 7.
What was the argument about?
Well, we were having a discussion, and Mr. Wynn stated that I looked old. From that discussion, it
Well, what did
became
he
an argument.
say? I want to hear what he said.
Well, he said that when he met me that I looked old. He was attracted to older women. When he met me, that was one of his attractions because I looked old at the time that he met me.
That's not true. That's not how it actually went.
Okay, and
Okay.
go ahead, sir. And you said?
From that, I got offended, and we started having an argument about that.
Well, tell me what you said to him.
Well, I told him that, well, at first I didn't say anything, and then I told him that I didn't know that he thought that I looked old, and I did take offense to him saying that.
You weren't speaking the same way you're speaking to me now.
No, ma'am.
You were screaming at each other.
Not at that point, we weren't screaming at each other. We didn't, the screaming didn't actually start until we got to our home.
And what was the screaming about?
Well, this argument progressed on, so we started discussing other things like financial, him not being able to support our home financially and different things like that. And Mr. Wynn then left the house in my vehicle, and when he left, he stayed gone like 2 hours. When he returned, he laid his keys on the table and went to the bathroom. When he laid his keys on the table, I went to get my car key off of his key ring. He then came out of the bathroom, and it advanced into a struggle. He tried to take the keys away from me, and I wouldn't give him the keys. So at that time, he then punched me in the stomach and then the back of the head, and I fell on the floor. Okay. At that time, he punched me in the stomach and the back of the head, and I fell on the floor.
Where were your children?
They were in their bedrooms asleep.
But then they woke up.
Right. My younger son woke up. At that time, when he punched me in the stomach and the back of the head, I tried to call the police, so I reached for the phone. At the time, Mr. Wynn grabbed the phone and ripped the phone lines out of the wall. I got up and tried to go into the kitchen and use the phone as well. He ripped that one and the phone in the children's room out of the wall as well.
Let me see the police report. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Wynn then left out of the door and went outside and started to remove items from my vehicle that he had placed on there.
Like what?
Like lights. He puts neon lights on the vehicle and different things like that. And I went out the back door and ran down the street to the payphone to call 911. When I returned, Mr. Wynn was already gone with both sets of keys to our house and my car, and had locked my sons inside of my apartment.
So what did you do?
The police came. When the police came, they helped me beat on the door, and my 7-year-old son woke up and came and opened the door for us to get in.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see them. Okay, go ahead.
About 3 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Wynn returned to our residence. He came in and he went to my children's room because that's where he kept a basket with some of his clothing in it. So when I went in the room, I told him he was not going to take the car again. At that time, he informed me that his mother was outside of our home waiting for him. So I told him, since it was 3 o'clock in the morning and want to wake the children, I would help him move his things out. So I started taking things out to his mother's car. She had her trunk open of her car, and I started putting things in there. At that time, Mr. Wynn went into my apartment and started throwing things out of the apartment, like my dolphin. I collect dolphin figurines. He threw them out. He took, the children had 2 small betta fish, and they had 2 little separate tanks. He threw those out the front door and killed both of the fish. He took a hammer, my hammer, and burst my 10-gallon fish tank. I had an Oscar fish in it. He took a hammer and burst the fish tank, ruined the carpet in the living room, and glass was everywhere. And so I took and ran up the hill and back down to the corner and used the payphone again to call 911.
You have another police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
This police report is of another incident. That one, the first one that you have, states that they came back a second time.
This is from another incident?
Yes.
When was this?
I left town on that same day and went to my hometown. Stayed gone for about 3 days. When I returned, Mr. Wynn had broken into my apartment because I had the locks changed before I left and ruined several things, taken several things, jewelry, different things like that from my apartment while I was out of town. He had poured pills in my sink in my bathroom, broken glass in my bathtub.
Now I'll hear you, Mr. Wynn.
Actually, I'm going to start from the beginning just like she did. The ride home, we was having a mutual conversation. She basically said, you thought I was some young girl, this and that and that and this. I said, no, I thought you were older. Then she said, what does that mean? I said, you could take it or leave it how you want it. She kind of got offended by it or whatever. Basically said nothing the rest of the ride home. When we get to the house...
I'd like you to look at me when you're speaking.
When we get to the house, she basically brings up the incident again. So you think... she said...
look at me, right here.
She said... I'm trying to breathe. She said that you offended me.
Don't breathe.
She said you offended me when you called me old. I said I did not call you old. And she was like, well, you need to apologize. I said, I'm not apologizing because I did not call you old. She basically told me I would be sorry. So I got offended by that. You know what I'm saying? Took a shower, and I planned on going to sleep after that. She came yanking covers off of me, telling me that I need to get up, do this, do that. And I told her, I said, I'm not finna talk to you to be arguing with you, so I'm finna go.
So you told her you were leaving?
Yes.
And you left?
I left.
And how did you go?
I left as, you know, like any normal, I wasn't mad.
No, did you leave in her car?
It was, you know, at that time, what's mine is yours and yours is mine. That's how we had it.
What did you have? Shh, listen to me.
I'm sorry.
What did you have?
At that time?
Did you have an apartment?
No.
Did you have a car?
No.
So what did you bring to the table?
I brought whatever, you know, at that time I provided.
That's a reasonable question. Why are you looking like that? It's a reasonable question.
Right.
What did you bring to the table? What's mine is mine, or what's yours is mine, is what you're saying.
Right. And, you know, it's basically...
Right, that's what I thought you were saying.
Whenever we needed anything in the apartment or anything like that, I would either get it or she would get it or we'd go together and get it.
All I asked you was, what was it that you brought? She had the home, she had the car. What did you bring?
I went half with her on the deposit, half with her on the rent, and whatever other bills we did. So that's how it basically was. It's like we went half and half on everything.
So you left in her car?
Right.
And what happened when you came back?
When I found out she wasn't asleep, I seen she was trying to take keys out the key ring, which to the car. And also, at the time, I thought the apartment too. And I tried to take the keys from her. You see what I'm saying? And at that time, she punched me.
That's not true.
Don't interrupt him.
She punched me 2 times, and I reacted in punching her.
We're going to go through this carefully.
Okay.
She's taking the keys off the ring.
Right.
You come into the room.
Right.
You go over to her.
Okay. The way she had the keys,
in her hand.
My key ring has a little long thingy on it. I reached out and grabbed it. I basically put them on the couch, in the back of the couch, turned my back towards her. At that time, that's when I was punched And when I was punched, I turned around and punched her.
Show me how you were punched.
She punched me like, you know, it was 2 hits. And it was more like a, you know what I'm saying? It was 2 hits, just that quick. And just as quick as she hit me, I hit her back.
Mm-hmm. Now what happened next, sir?
I really vaguely don't remember how we ended up outside. But when I ended up outside, she told me to get all my stuff out the car. You know, all the stuff that I put on the car, take it off. She jumps in the car, I jumps in the car. She yanking lights off and everything on the inside of the car because I had the neons on the inside of the car. I said, just let me take them off. When I get my tools out the trunk of the car, she's telling me she's going to call the police or whatever.
So you're telling me she's vandalizing her own car?
At that time, yes.
I don't think I believe that.
That's not true.
I don't think I believe that. I may believe some of the things that you tell me, but I don't believe that she's vandalizing her own car, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
That's a lie, Your Honor. She came and got all her stuff. Her sister even took her.
If you say one more thing to me without my looking at you, then I'm going to grant a petition. Do you understand?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aisha Austin claims ex-boyfriend Marcus Wynn destroyed her belongings out of rage. Marcus says the rage was mutual.
I want to know what you did with her son's fish. Look at my eyes.
Okay. I went in the house and I went inside the room to gather some clothes because I wasn't planning on staying for the rest of that week.
The fish.
Right. I'm getting to that part.
Get there.
Okay. When she noticed I was trying to leave, she started grabbing my dishes and, like she said, throwing them in the back of my mom's car and was breaking them at the same time. I kind of got agitated and I started throwing her stuff out. She started throwing stuff of mine out. I started just picking up stuff and going crazy myself. I took the fish, threw them around, went across the fish tank with a hammer. And that's just plain and simple.
Got there. Then there came a time when you came back to the house.
Correct.
But she had changed the locks.
Right.
The lease wasn't in your name.
Right.
So you broke into the house.
Right.
You can't do that, Mr. Wynn. Now, I'm not saying that Miss Austin didn't lose her temper. Miss Austin.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe you probably lost your temper a little bit. That be a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Ones I feel most sorry for are those 2 little children who are in the house, seeing the 2 adults that they supposedly look up to acting like a bunch of school children, fighting with each other, screaming, yelling, killing their pets. You should both feel terrible about that.
I do.
What? No, you didn't. If you did, then you
Not at that time I didn't, but, you know, once I sat down and thought about it, I did.
Can I see an estimate on the car, please?
I don't have the estimate.
Well, how am I supposed to determine how much it'll cost to fix the car?
Well, when I went to get the estimate done, the shop was already closed, the service department, so I wasn't able to get the estimate done.
So what does he owe you money for?
The
Fish, for sure.
He took a lot of things from my apartment. I have that on the paper as well. He has not returned anything that he's taken.
Like what?
Jewelry, different.
What kind of jewelry?
I have a herringbone chain, a rope chain.
Did you take any jewelry from her house?
Yes.
Oh, it's not an answer.
Yes, I did.
Where is it?
Where is it? It's at my mom's house as of now.
All the jewelry is to be returned to her within 5 days.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm awarding you $250, which you're going to use to go out and refurbish a fish tank for the children. For yourself, get the children. You should write them a note of apology.
Well, I kind of planned on talking to them face to face and letting them know how much of, you know, apology I would like to give them.
5 days. I'll prepare an order. All the jewelry goes back to her. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just feel like it got out of control that night, and it's something that shouldn't have happened at all.
Man, you'd thought we was at WWF Wrestling.
The best way to handle it is just to have left it alone in the beginning.
It was just like a mad man and a mad woman going at each other.
I'd like to get my life back on track.
She's got nude pictures of herself laying all over Houston.
If he wouldn't have come in here and tried to lie, I'm sure things could have been worked out.
She was trying to act like a good girl. We got pictures right here showing she was a bad girl, butt naked and stuff.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Robert versus Joseph Oski. Step forward, please.
Student Kathy Robert is suing her former friend, freelance event coordinator Marion Joseph Oski, for the value of her pets. Marion is countersuing for harassment and lost wages.
Miss Robert, the defendant was a friend of yours, according to you, and agreed to do some pet sitting for you.
That's correct.
And according to you, she sold your pets to a local pet store. You want to be compensated for the pets The defendant says that she did, in fact, agree to watch your animals for you for a day. It ended up being 3 weeks. She couldn't keep them anymore. She is counterclaiming alleging harassment. So why don't you tell me when and under what circumstances she agreed to do this pet sitting for you?
She agreed originally to do it for me on July 8th. I came over and left my animals on July 16th. It was supposed to be...
Okay. What kind of animals were they?
I had 3 birds, 1 bunny, and a small fish aquarium.
3 birds, 1 rabbit, and 1 fish tank?
Small aquarium, yes.
Well, what was in the aquarium?
Some guppies.
Is this just a bowl?
Mm-hmm, a bowl.
So you're talking about a fish bowl, hardly an aquarium.
No.
3 birds, what kind of birds?
A plumhead parakeet and a white-faced cockatiel and a albino parakeet.
Why did you tell her you needed her to watch the animals for you?
I was moving out and my apartment wasn't ready yet, and I couldn't put the animals where I was going to be staying, so she agreed to take care of them, and I gave her $50 to do that.
Did she give you $50?
No, ma'am. She gave me $25, a check which she asked me not to cash for several days, which I complied with.
Does that sound right to you?
No, because she had a closed bank account and I couldn't give her a check, so I gave her cash on different times.
That's not true.
What do you mean you gave her cash at different times?
I gave her $25 initially, and then whenever I would come over to visit, I'd give her $10.
All right, so initially you did give her $25.
Initially.
Okay. Now, you brought the animals over on the 16th?
Correct.
Then what happened?
And then I came over to visit once a week. She knew that she would be watching the birds for about 3.5 weeks.
Don't tell me what you knew. Did she come over once a week?
About that.
Fine. How many weeks did you visit?
3.
When did you tell her you wanted the animals back?
I had asked her if she could watch them till about August 15th, but she said that she needed me to come pick them up about August 8th. So I said, okay. And I tried to call her August 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Never got a phone call back from her at all.
Well, when was the last time you had visited your animals?
I believe it was July 31st, and I went over on July 31st, and my bunny wasn't there. She said that the bunny was being cared for by her ex-husband, which we later found out was a lie. They were over at her little girl's friend's house, and we went there approximately 6 weeks later and picked it up from the little girl's friend's house.
Okay, so the bunny you got back?
The bunny I got back, and I bought back 1 bird from the pet store.
Bunny you now have?
The bunny I have.
What happened with the birds? Because it's the birds that we're talking about.
Well, Your Honor, she did ask me to watch them, but it was only for, quote, a few days at the most.
Okay, but she came to visit. According to what you just testified to, she would come once a week. So you knew it was more than 1 day, because that's what you say in your answer.
Initially, it was 1 to 3 days.
Okay, but it turned out to be more than that.
Correct.
And you knew it was more than that because she came to visit once a week, according to you.
Right.
You said that. So why did you give away her animals?
Because I told her, each time she came to visit me, I told her that she needed to pick them up by the 12th. By the 12th of August, I needed them gone because my landlord did not allow me to have pets. And she said, if I can't have...
Would you look at me?
If I can't have a place for them to stay, then can you find someone to watch them for me? And so I found someone else to take care of them, and they, in turn, got rid of the birds. I did not. I just did what she asked me to do.
Who did you give the birds to?
A friend.
Give me the friend's name.
Jeff is his name.
And you gave Jeff the birds when?
On the 14th, when I was moving out. After I waited for her to come, and she did not because my door was ajar open all day because I was fixing the door so that I could move out and get my deposit
Your
back.
Honor, I was there on the 15th, and she told me that the birds were at her mother's house, and she gave me a fake phone number. I was there the day after she's saying that.
She told you that the birds were at her mother's house?
Yep.
Did you ever find out what happened to the birds?
I found one of them in a pet store, and I have no idea what happened to the plumhead. I have no idea.
How did you find one of the birds in a pet store?
I heard them arguing in the background. I called up once, and she said, well, I really don't have your birds. Jeff really has them. And she started arguing with Jeff in the background, and he goes, well, I can't get them back. I sold them to Birdland.
All right, you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am. Kathy called everyone I know, telling them that if they ever wanted to see me alive again, that they should tell me to give her birds back. And she also threatened my family. She told me, just give me your laptop and I will leave you and your family alone. She told my daughter that she was going to come to her school if I didn't give her anything in return for her birds being sold. which she knew that I did not sell.
That's not true.
And threatening me, and she made me lose a babysitting job I had because I had a 3-year-old there, and she was screaming at my face. She was right here telling me she was going to trash my car, and she wasn't going to leave us alone. And
you had no right to give anybody her animals. This isn't a situation where she left these animals with you, totally unattended. She never came back for, I'm speaking. The $25 that she gave you more than covered any food for 3 birds and a rabbit for 3 weeks. So there's no question that you didn't have any out-of-pocket expenses, even if she didn't give you any more money. I mean, bird seed and rabbit food, $25 worth goes a very, very long way. So what you had to do was just return them to her and get them out of your house.
But she asked me, Your Honor.
You chose not to do that. You chose to give them to somebody who was unreliable. No. That's boyfriend Jeff.
Excuse me, Your
And
Honor.
if Jeff, no, now
Excuse
you
me,
listen to me. And if Jeff sold them, you are responsible. You agreed to take care of her pets, and you chose not to do that.
Until a certain time, Your Honor.
No,
she
you chose not to do that.
She agreed to pick them up on the 12th, Your Honor.
And you chose a path that was wrong, because you had another path that you could have chosen, which was to take the animals, 3 birds, because you already didn't have the rabbit, and take them to where she was living and say,
I did not know
here
where
they
she was
are,
living.
Then pick up the phone and call her.
I knew her for 3 weeks before all this happened. She just starts dumping her stuff and all of her pets on me, and I was just trying to help her.
She didn't dump anything on you, madam. According to you, she would come by once a week to visit them. You told me that. That's what you told me for 3 weeks.
And she...
That's what you told me. So this wasn't just a, here, take my animals and I'll come and get them when I want to. She gave them to you. She did the responsible thing. She gave them to you with money. Then she came once a week to see them and probably gave you an extra couple of bucks too, although you don't acknowledge that.
However,
even if she didn't, she gave you enough to take care of them. You had a responsibility to do the right thing. You did not. She's going to get what she asks for, which is $560. And as far as your counterclaim is concerned, you didn't do the right thing. You don't get a penny for harassment. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She is lying about many things, including the money, including the dates, everything.
I wish I could have found out what happened to my birds. In actuality, I still want the plum head back, but I guess that's not going to happen.
She thought she could pull this out of her hat and just get money from me.
I never threatened her children. Never.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lovell versus Carson. Step forward, please.
Attorney Warner Lovell is suing his former client, 27-year-old ticketing agent Diane Michelle Carson, for failure to pay for services in a custody battle. Michelle says she never hired him.
Mr. Lovell, you are an attorney.
That is correct.
And it is your claim that the defendant retained you in a custody proceeding to represent her, and that she has an outstanding bill that you wanted to pay.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Carson says that she never retained you. Her mother, if anyone, retained you in this custody proceeding. And aside from that, you failed to show up in court on the day of the hearing. Is that your defense?
Yes.
I gather, Ms. Carson, that this whole case started with a custody proceeding involving your former husband some 6 or 7 years ago.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you have 2 small children.
Yes.
According to what I read in your answer, you lost custody to your husband.
Yes.
And your husband remarried. And recently he was dispatched to go into active duty, leaving the 2 children with their stepmother. And it was your desire to regain custody of the children, even temporarily, while their father was in the active military, rather than leaving them with their stepmother. That's what the lawsuit was about.
Yes.
And now, Mr. Lovell, I would like you to tell me when Miss Carson came to see you, how she was referred to you. I'd like to see the retainer agreement that she signed.
Your Honor, she came to me on or about June 18, 2002, the same date that she signed this agreement. Actually, she didn't come into my office. I gave the agreement to my secretary, one of my witnesses here, Diane Galloway, who is the mother of the defendant.
Okay, hold on a second. You took this retainer agreement, which I want to read for a second, and you gave it to your witness, who happens to be the defendant's mother.
Right, but Your Honor...
When it was returned to you, was it returned signed?
Yes.
So your conversations were primarily with her mother, who was your secretary?
That's correct.
Did you sign a retainer agreement with the plaintiff in June?
No, I did not.
Step up, please. Ms. Galloway, you work for the plaintiff?
Yes.
For how long?
5 years.
Prior to the 18th of June, 2002, did you discuss with the plaintiff your daughter's predicament with regard to her 2 children?
Yes.
When had your daughter first contacted you and told you that the children were going to be with their stepmother?
She didn't contact me. I just knew.
How did you know?
Because I correspond with their father and the stepmother.
When you found out about it, what did you do?
I encouraged her to try to get temporary custody of them.
When did you speak to him?
June the 18th.
Are you telling me that prior to June the 18th you never spoke to him about the situation?
Not as far as in a professional manner, just as far as in corresponding, I would come in kind of depressed or upset or something and, share with him the situation.
Now, in June is when you had the first formal conversation with him, is that right?
That's correct.
And was it at that time that he gave you this retainer agreement?
Yes.
And what did you do with the retainer agreement?
I signed it, and then Michelle signed it.
Where was she when she signed it?
In my kitchen, in my house.
On what date?
September, I'm going to say probably around 21st, 22nd.
Your Honor, Shut. I don't want you to speak.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The conference with client that you are referring to in your billing statement has to be Miss Galloway. Is that correct?
Yes, but may I explain?
No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Attorney Warner Lovell says former client Michelle Carson owes for his services involving custody. Michelle says Mr. Lovell was hired by her mother, so she should pay.
Why is it that your daughter didn't sign the retainer agreement until September?
Because the proceedings, the way they were going, we thought we were going to have to, get attorney fees from the defendant. And I couldn't do that because I was not a party to the litigation.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her, in order to get attorney fees, you're the party, I'm not, you need to sign this.
Now, when was the hearing in this case?
First one I was involved in was scheduled for June 28, 2002, but we went in a day early, the 27th, at mutual agreement.
Mr. Lovell, between June 18th and September, how many court appearances did you make?
I made that one.
And then?
There was another lawyer involved for the defendant here, and the defendant and her mother wanted someone with more experience. I have 32 years experience.
Shh, Mr. Lovell, who told you that?
Diane Galloway, my witness, told me they wanted someone more experienced. I then communicated with the defendant about this, and I sent her letters. She never responded to one of the letters and indicated
what was the date. What was the date of the letter, sir?
It was September 23rd. Was to her lawyer, my co-counsel, pointing out.
No, Mr. Lovell. Mr. Lovell, sir. Let me explain to you where I'm going, and you know exactly. You know exactly where I'm going, Mr. Lovell.
Right.
Between June 18th and some date in September that your witness is not sure of, the defendant did not retain you. She retained you.
I disagree with that assessment.
Well, I'm telling you, you may disagree with it, but since I am the final arbiter of what's going on here, you have to accept that, sir. Now, you are suing for work that was done between June and September. I think that your secretary wanted some help with a custody case that she thought was a good idea initially in April. She told her daughter that she thought her daughter should pursue this custody case as opposed to the stepmother. Her daughter retained her own attorney. She signed a retainer agreement with you in June. She did not sign it until September. And all I'm asking you now, sir, is to fill in the blanks for me when you had correspondence with the defendant. Show me.
The first letter I had with her was the 23rd of September. Here's a copy of the letter. I had another one on October 8th. But prior to these letters, I had telephone communications with her, Judge, Your Honor, and she recognized me as her counsel.
Don't tell me she recognized you as her counsel, sir. I don't see that she recognized you as her counsel. You don't have a retainer agreement signed by her until September. And in September, you started sending her letters that you wanted your money. She says, you're not my lawyer. I mean, I'm not asking you any questions. I'm just looking at your paperwork, sir, and listening to your witness.
From August 6th to October 7th, Diane Galloway was out of my office with a wrist injury and surgery. So I was having to communicate some with the defendant directly. She recognized me as her lawyer. And
did you recognize him as your lawyer?
Honor, I never spoke with him. It was always through my mom. My mom would tell me something. I never spoke with this gentleman on the telephone except for one time, and it was a no charge on the billing statement. All of this other billing is conversation with Diane Galloway, conversation with Diane Galloway. All of the bills.
Can I see it, please? How much did you pay your attorney?
My attorney, $2,000.
What happened with the case?
I lost.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who paid you your retainer on June 18th?
Diane Galloway paid a $500 retainer on that time. I have a copy of the check she's given.
I believe you.
Okay.
Am I correct that in your statement to this defendant, dated 7/1/02 for the month of June, that when you refer to conference with client, you are referring to Miss Galloway?
Some of those were with Miss Galloway. I had a conversation or two with each one.
Listen to me, sir. You don't say clients. You say client. Did you have a conference with Miss Carson on 6/18? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
So if you did not have a conference, Mr. Lovell, with Miss Carson on June 18th, the conference with client that you are referring to in your billing statement has to be Miss Galloway. Is that correct?
Yes, but may I explain?
No. On June 19th, did you have a conference with Miss Carson?
Not in person.
Are you telling me, sir, that you had a conference on the telephone with Miss Carson and you had a conference with Miss Galloway as well?
No. The defendant worked for American Airlines and I couldn't reach her by phone during the day. When I would call, I usually would not get a response. If she had to come into my office, she would lose pay. Therefore, I would communicate to her through Diane Galloway.
Mr. Lovell, I'm not going to prolong this torture anymore, sir. You do not have a case against Miss Carson and you know it. Case dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Came as a complete surprise to me today that she's saying I'm not her lawyer.
The agreement was that my mother hired him, he was a co-counsel, she was paying the bill, and I was paying my own lawyer bill.
What I heard my daughter say is that I pushed her into getting temporary custody of her children versus her stepmom. That tells me that she don't want them.
And I've gone through 3 lawyers paying and paying to get my children, so it's not that I don't want my children.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cox versus Davis. Step forward, please.
21-year-old software tester Cameron Cox is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old bartender Jeremy Davis, for the balance on a car. Jeremy is countersuing, accusing Cameron of cashing 2 of his paychecks.
Miss Cox, how long did you date Mr. Davis?
We met in November, we started dating in December, and we broke up in May.
And when did you decide to put a car that he wanted in your name and put down the deposit?
In February.
So you knew him less than 2 months?
Well, we had been friends since November.
You dated him for less than 2 months. You had a relationship with him for less than 2 months when you decided to do that. What do you do for a living?
I'm a software tester.
So you're an intelligent gal. You have skills and all that stuff? Ever watch this court before on television? Are you paying attention when you watch? Huh?
Yes.
Well, I'm paying good attention. Because according to what I read here, what you did was, he wanted to buy a car, he had lousy credit. You said, okay, put the car in my name, which means the loan will be in your name. I'll put down half the down payment, $3,000. You pay for the car, you pay for the insurance. And that was the deal that you say you had with him, right?
Yes.
And then a few months later, the romance is over, he takes off, leaving you with the car, which was repossessed. You say it's not your car. You had nothing to do with it. The car was repossessed. It's her problem because the car wasn't in your name, the loan isn't in your name. You don't know why you're here. Is that right?
Right.
See what I mean? And you say, Mr. Davis, not only that, but she took 2 of your commission checks.
Correct.
And forged your name to 2 commission checks and cashed them, and you are counterclaiming. How much were the commission checks?
It was $580.
Can I see that, please?
Yeah.
Sure. Did you forge his name to these checks and cash them?
Only one of them, with his permission.
Okay, which one?
I don't know.
One is dated 4/11, one is dated 4/18.
It was the last one.
Okay, and what did you use the money for?
For what he owes me.
You mean on the cars?
No, to go for what he owes me when we broke up. I made a contract.
Can I see it? Did you sign a note that you promised to pay her all this money?
I remember signing to him.
Well, show it to him. See? There you go. Now, did you sign that?
And Ron was a witness to it.
Oh, that's not my signature, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. It's not his signature. So let's go further, Ms. Cox. This says that he owes you half the down payment for the Explorer, which is $1,500.
Correct.
Okay? I'm not even playing around with the rent or half the bills or anything else. Sticking to the car.
Could I say something, Your Honor?
Now, I'll get to you in a second. The time in February when you got this Explorer for him, did you have a car?
Yes, I have a car fully paid for.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Toyota Celica.
Is that what you have now?
Yes.
What year car is that?
2000.
Is it correct, Mr. Davis, that at the time that you and Ms. Cox were dating, she had a Toyota Celica 2000? What word didn't you understand, sir? At the time you were dating, did she have a 2000 Toyota Celica?
Yeah, she did.
And in January of 2002, what kind of car did you have?
I have no car.
Ah, perfect. Now, so you had no car in January. Now, I want you to think very carefully, Mr. Davis. Shh. In March, on March 7th, 2002, at 6 o'clock in the evening, think about what I'm saying to you. What kind of car were you driving?
2001 Ford Explorer Sport.
Yes, sir.
But
And what kind of car was she driving?
She was driving a Toyota.
Now, in June of 2002, you were no longer together with the plaintiff. Is that right?
Correct.
What kind of car were you driving?
I was driving no car.
Right. What did you do with the Explorer?
I didn't do anything with the Explorer. I
You
didn't
just
purchase
left it there.
Yeah, because it was in her name. She purchased, she financed it. Nothing on contract at the dealership was my name on it.
So, now, Bert, first I want to deal, Mr. Davis, with your counterclaim, okay?
Correct.
You claim that the plaintiff forged your name to 2 commission checks totaling almost $600.
Correct.
And she kept that money. Is that right?
Correct.
She kept that money?
She kept that money.
Right. Return this to him. I can't tell whether she forged your name. So your counterclaim's dismissed. You got that so far? Tell me about this car being repossessed. When was it repossessed?
I did a voluntary repo in the middle of June. Once we broke up, he was supposed to go get anger management classes because he was abusive during the relationship.
Oh, so in the short time you were together, he was also abusive?
The last month, he became abusive.
Ms. Cox, so listen to me. In the few short months you were together, he was also abusive.
Only in May. He became abusive towards the end of the relationship.
Relationship wasn't that long. Now, keep your money in your bank. Your head on your shoulders and your money in the bank. 2 good things. If you think of nothing else when you leave here today, keep your head on your shoulders and your money in the bank. So you did a voluntary repo of the car and you sent it back to the credit company, and how much did they sell it for?
And they sold it for $11,000, and this is the remaining of what I owe.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Davis?
Bartender.
How long have you been a bartender, sir?
For about a month. Before I was doing that, I was a fork truck driver.
A what?
Fork truck driver.
Well, what happened to that job?
Well, but I just wanted to bartend.
Don't you make more money driving those heavy machines?
Yeah, you do. But I like the bartending scene, so chose that.
You like the bartending scene?
Yeah, meeting new people.
You still owe $8,000 on this car, $8,800 on this car?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
What?
I had received a call from Cameron that she had called me and said I messed up, and I was, well, what are you talking about? She had spent a lot of money, an 8-ball of Coke, used it all. She called me crying on the phone.
God. What does that have to do with the Explorer? What does that have to do with your Explorer? Would you answer my question?
Do what now?
Mr. Davis, I'll have a vodka martini straight up. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? What does one thing have to do with another? Just wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing anything wrong, you know. Perhaps mocking Mr. Davis because he suffered from a hearing impediment. He doesn't suffer from a hearing impediment. He suffers from selective hearing, which is very much in tune with his gender. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of her request, $3,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Goodbye, Mr. Davis.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I mean, he knows he owes me the money.
I feel I don't owe her money because my name wasn't on the contract.
I don't understand why he even bothered coming, you know. You might as well as just giving me the case. I have the contract.
My name's not on the lease, so why should I pay the vehicle?
All he has to do is compare the signatures. They would have been the exact same from the contract and the check.
Why should I give her money for a vehicle that's not in my name?
I had a full-time job. I wanted him to be able to access a job so that he could pay me back the money for rent and everything, so that's why I did it.
She signed my payroll check.
Nothing was forged, and he did sign that contract.
And she forged and cashed.
There was really no need to even come into court. I mean, he could have just started sending me the money like he had promised.
Like I said, I guess don't date a younger girl.
I have absolutely the worst credit, and I am, like, in a lot of debt.
Not to meet people like her.
I saw him as a friend. It wasn't just because that we were dating. I mean, I would have done it for any of my friends.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jacobson versus Cole. Step forward, please.
Aaron Jacobson is suing his sister, flight attendant Kelly Cole, for an unpaid loan to pay her bills. Kelly says she assumed the money was a gift.
Mr. Jacobson, you claim a loan to the defendant, who's your sister, the
Yes.
amount of $3,000. Your sister acknowledges that you gave her $3,000, but your sister says it wasn't a loan, it was a gift. When did you make this loan?
In April.
Tell me about it.
My partner had passed away in March, and I hadn't really seen my sister since 2000. And when he passed away, she showed up at the wake. Then after that, there has been a couple of times that I had talked to her sporadically on the phone, and she had told me that, you know, her roommate had gave her some bad checks and that she was in need of some cash. So I asked her how much would be the minimum that she would need to pay her car payments, the child care for her daughter, and her utility bills. And she said $3,000. So I told her that I could probably swing that.
And when you handed her the money, what kind of conversation did you have?
Well, I told her that I could loan her the money and I needed it to be repaid, but I told her I would loan it to her at a 0% interest, you know, because she was in need.
Why didn't you speak to your sister for the 2-year period between 2000 and 2000?
My sister and my brother were in business together, and he had gotten hurt. So then when he was in the hospital, my sister sort of just swung in, and she wanted to take over the business. And in that time, they were behind on all their bills, so then my mom got involved into it. Then she started running the business with my brother, and then my sister was out of it. So there was a big family dispute over the whole entire mess.
Did you ask your sister back for this money?
Yes.
When?
Every month.
What did she say?
She would show me a stack of bills, and she says, I don't have any to give to you. And in August, she just blew up and was like yelling and using foul language. And then she told me that I should have told you months ago that I was not ever going to pay you.
All right, Ms. Cole, let's hear your version of these events.
Where would you like me to start?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, I would like you to start on the 29th of April when your brother handed you $3,000.
April.
Yes.
Okay, let's start at April. Okay, he gave me the $3,000. I had driven out there. I had not spoken to either one of them for over a year, not because my brother was hurt. My other brother, who I was in business with, who my mother talked me into going into business with this brother.
How old are you?
Old enough to know better.
So don't blame anybody else for your mistakes. I want to hear about the $3,000.
Okay, the $3,000.
Your brother gave you $3,000 because you said you were behind in your bills. Why didn't you pay him back?
Because I assumed that it was a gift, because I didn't find out until 2 weeks later from my Aunt Carol, who had gone to a picnic with them. She came back to me, she goes, Kelly, do you know that gift that your brother gave you was a loan?
Listen to me, I'm not interested in what somebody said to you outside of this courtroom.
Yes.
I want to know why, in your mind, you think that this brother, who you weren't in business with, would give you $3,000.
Because he and my mother went into the company after my brother was stabbed and took the company, went into bank accounts, took money, back-charged my account, which put me $27,000 in debt, and turned around and deposited into their new DBA account. They took over the business. Both of them.
Ms. Cole, I think that you have a persecution complex. So far, you have two brothers and a mother. You're not talking to your mother, this brother, or your other brother because everybody is trying to scam you. Is
Not
that right?
everybody's trying. They've always
No.
done it.
Is there any particular reason for that?
Because I was very close to my grandmother.
Very sick girl. You owe your brother $3,000. Pay it. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They're liars, they're cheats, they're thieves.
My daughter does have a different outlook on life.
Including, and not limited to, stealing my inheritance from my grandmother.
My mother was an only child. When her parents died, they left their estate to her.
My 3-year-old asks me, where's my grandmother? And I tell her she's dead.
She uses her daughter like Disneyland. You got to pay to see her. And it's really sad.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sanford Keogh versus Ames. Step forward, please.
Parquet Joanne Sanford Keogh is suing her former friend, 25-year-old transportation worker Kenneth Ames, for an unpaid loan for bail. Joanne claims she bailed Kenneth out of jail when he was arrested after a high-speed chase.
Miss Keogh, the defendant was a friend of the family, and you claim that he owes you $1,500 for bail.
That's correct.
He seems to say, I don't know what she's talking about. Right?
Correct.
So we're going to find out. How do you know him?
I know Kenneth through my husband. My husband introduced me to Kenneth maybe about 6-7 years ago. And since then, we've been doing favors for Kenneth for I don't know how long. On March 4th, 2001, I got a phone call saying from the jail saying he needed to be bailed out. It was Kenneth. And I told him then, I said, I don't have any money. I said, so I can't bail you out. He goes, oh, well, I have the money. So as soon as you bail me out, I'll write a promissory note to the bondman that I'll pay. I said, well, okay, you get that together with them, and then you call me back. In the meantime, I got 4 other phone calls from the bail bond saying, okay, it's been arranged, the third party's paid the money, all we need is the signature. So I talked to Kenneth again on the phone after that, and I tell him again, I said, Kenneth, are you sure you're going to be able to pay? I said, because I don't have any money and I'm not going to be able to pay this. Oh yeah, I can pay. You know I have your rent money, I have the car money, so forth and so on. This is what he was saying. So I signed for him.
So you guaranteed his bail?
Yeah.
You didn't actually put out any money?
No.
But you signed as a guarantor?
Right.
Let me see the paperwork. I'll get to you in a minute, Kenneth.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joanne Sanford Keogh is suing her former friend, Kenneth Ames, for an unpaid loan for bail. Joanne claims she bailed Kenneth out of jail when he was arrested after a high-speed chase.
What were you arrested for, Kenneth?
Disrespect for public safety.
What?
Disrespect for public safety.
And you had got $25,000 bail for that?
Correct.
Tell me the facts underlying that case, Kenneth.
The facts underlining, pulled over at a bad timing, unfortunately without a license at the time. Did an unfortunate thing of taking the police for a drive. I kind of went on a high-speed pursuit for a couple cities, places, here's and there's, and at the end of it...
Was this the first time you were arrested, Kenneth?
Correct, it was.
It's the first time you were arrested?
No. Excuse me.
No,
I'm sorry.
Kenneth. Don't fib to Mother Nature.
Okay, yeah, I've been arrested before, true. But have I been incarcerated before, prior?
I asked you if you'd been arrested before.
Okay, arrested, yes.
What kind of work do you do, Kenneth?
Caltrans.
What is that?
Road work. Work on the freeways, clean up, pick up.
Okay, so now I see what's left on this bail is $1,450. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Who made the payment of $90?
Kenneth made that one payment.
Just a minute. And then I see another $25 payment.
I made that payment out of my personal account after they called me on my job, harassing me, telling me they were going to garnish my wages and so forth.
So he really owes you $1,475.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'll hear from you, Mr. Ames.
As her story goes, correct, I was bailed out of jail. I already knew I was in there. I could either be OR'd without having a record prior to my name, so I figured if I even sat in there, it did not matter. But yet the fact of friends and other people that I knew said that I shouldn't sit in there due to the fact that anything could happen at any time. My employment could go down the tubes. So, to get out of there.
What's the name of that comedian that talks and you can't understand him? Foster Brooks?
That's the one that acts drunk.
I don't have a clue as to what this man is saying to me. You want to start again?
You cannot understand what I say, excuse me?
I cannot understand a word of this defense. Not a word.
Here, let me start over then.
Good.
As you know, Miss Keogh did not put up any money. Other people all came together to bail me out. All she had to do was sign to say that it would get paid. When I got out, I paid all the people back. Now, the remaining balance, I was told Miss Keogh was asked to make a payment for some reason. Then when I found out it was a $25 payment, which the payments were $90, I mean, Petty called me up telling me, I just paid your whole payment for you this month. You didn't pay me a payment, you paid $25. That's barely a quarter of the payment. Stop there. I'll make sure that the rest of it gets paid. It was paid off totally in full.
You have proof of that, sir?
Unfortunately, the person who did the payment off, his wife has the receipt. I cannot get in contact with her because he is gone right now.
No, all you have to do is go to the bail bondsman.
They have all my numbers. They knew when I lived with my mom when I also got out.
To me.
If I owed a prior balance...
Pay careful attention to what I just said. You said somebody else paid off the remaining balance.
So there was no balance.
But their wife is having a baby and is
none
in
of that.
Saskatchewan, whatever. So you couldn't get the receipt. So I said to you, that's your defense, that it was paid by somebody else and that there is no balance. You go to the bail bondsman and you say, I'm going to court next week. Can I please have a statement showing zero balance?
They say they don't need to show a statement because it's all gone. Their computer shows no record of Kenneth Ames. I have no balance with them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I owe them nothing.
You work full-time?
Yes.
You on salary?
No.
You get any kind of assistance? Is that what you're working for?
No.
You work for nothing?
No, I do not work for nothing.
Well, what do you work for?
Caltrans. You know what Caltrans is? California
Transit.
Well, that's what he said. That's why I asked him if he
Service.
got a salary, and he said no.
It's not a salary. I get paid by the hour. Ask me the hourly wage, not a salary. Salary would be a set pay, huh?
I do understand Foster Brooks.
You do?
Yeah, him I understand.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad you're working. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,475. Thank you, that's all.
Party's our excuse. You may step out.
Caltrans? Yeah.
Hey, I'm there every day. I keep my job and I keep myself safe.
High-speed pursuit in cities? Yeah, right.
I was in jail. I didn't have to toss up a penny.
Friends just bailing you out just because they want to save their job. If you don't have a job, they can't save one.
She was like family to me until she let this little matter get in the way.
Don't call me if you need bail.
Exterminator Rick Weaver and his fiancée, Chrissy Mayer, are suing business owner Stephen Burt for emotional distress over the botched sale of a van. Stephen is countersuing for the return of his deposit and for vandalism to his car.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 273 on the calendar in the matter of Weaver, Mayer versus Burt. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Weaver, this case is a little complicated, so let me see if I can untangle it. You had a 1989 van that you decided to sell, and I assume you put a sign out in the van?
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant, who you didn't know, saw the sign and decided to buy the van. He gave you a deposit. There is some discrepancy as to the amount of the deposit, but he gave you a deposit. He was supposed to come back and pay the rest.
Right.
According to you, he did not come back on the day he was supposed to come back, so the next day you sold the van to somebody else.
Yes.
When he did come back for the van, you told him, I'm sorry, you didn't come back when you were supposed to, so I sold it to somebody else. The defendant said, okay, give me my deposit back.
Right.
You said it was a non-refundable deposit. Then there were several things that happened. He says you told him you'd give him some money when you got a check, and he came back a couple of times to try to get the money. In any event, you claim that he had you falsely arrested for terrorizing him,
Yes.
and you want to be compensated for that false arrest.
Yes.
Mr. Burt is counterclaiming. He wants his deposit back, and he wants damage to his car because he said when he tried to pursue you for the return of his deposit, you did in fact threaten him, and you threw a brick at his car, damaging his car, and he's counterclaiming. So, Mr. Weaver, tell me when Mr. Burt approached you. He came to your house?
Yes.
What date?
It was July 17th when he came to my house. I heard a doorbell ring, went to the door. Excuse me.
I ask questions you had. July 17th is your answer.
Yes.
How much were you asking for the van?
I wanted $1,000 for it.
Did you write up an agreement with him?
Yes, we did.
Do you have a copy of the agreement?
No, I gave it to him because it was like a receipt.
Can I see the receipt, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I want the original receipt.
Well, ma'am, what happened to the original? My wife had washed my pants and it got destroyed, and I had to make a copy of it.
You say the price was $2,000, Mr. Burt.
Actually,
I want you to make very, very certain, Mr. Burt, that we understand each other absolutely 100% right. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
How much of a deposit did you give him?
I gave him a $1,200 deposit, ma'am.
Show me proof that you had $1,200 with you and where you got the money from. Because he says you gave him a $100 deposit. There's a big difference. He says you're selling the car for $1,000. You say $2,000. You say you gave him a $1,200 deposit. He says you gave him...
No, actually, I asked him for a $100 deposit. He brought back $200.
Show me where you took $1,200 from, Mr. Burt.
Yeah, I'm a carpet cleaning business owner.
You're a what?
Carpet cleaning business owner. I own a carpet cleaning business called Priority One. What happened was, me and my wife went home. I got the $1,200.
From where?
From my house. What happened, I didn't have it in the bank because I had a discrepancy with bank, and I had to withdraw all my money out of the bank. And that basically came through a settlement that I had received.
Bert, do you think that you can get me the Blue Book value of a 1989 Astro van with 200,000 miles?
Sure.
Good. Thank you. Now, sir, he gave you, according to you, $200, and he was supposed to come back when?
On July 27th. He never called, never showed up.
On the 27th?
On the 27th, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what happened on the 28th? Who'd you sell it to?
On the 28th, I waited all day for him to call, left a note on my door even, which he had stated to me after he came 2 weeks later, after the 28th, that he had saw the note and never called me anyway, because he said his wife was in a hospital. Sorry.
When did you sell the car, the 28th?
The night of the 28th. What I did
to
was...
whom?
His name was Guy.
And you have all of his information, is
Yes,
that right?
I have the canceled check and the
and
receipt.
What's the canceled check? You can step up. Bert isn't here. Step up.
I'm sorry. This is the receipt we wrote up the day of 28th.
Good.
That's
Step
canceled
back.
check. Thank you.
All right, so this is my question. So 2 weeks later, Mr. Burt comes back and says, where's my car? And you said, I don't have the car, and he wants his deposit back.
Right.
Clearly, based upon the evidence that you've just given me, sir, you sold the car for more money to this other person
Yes.
than you did to
The reason
Mr.
why...
than you did to Mr. Burt. So you were not out any money. Why didn't you give him back his $200?
Because when he had first come to my house, I said I needed the money for my mortgage because I was out of work because of my knee, and I needed the money by the 27th. I said it was a non-refundable deposit if you did not show up.
Come on. It's not in your contract.
I know I should have written it, but it was...
It's not there. And if you write up a contract and it's not there, I mean, not that I'm saying this might not have been altered to alter the money, because I think that that's a possibility. Because clearly I believe that you sold the van for $1,100. So why would you sell it to him for $2,000 and then sell it to somebody else for half that? You have a price there for me?
Trade-in fair is $900, Judge.
Okay. Fine. So no way, Mr. Burt, do I believe that you paid $2,000 for this van.
No, Your Honor, I didn't.
Do you understand that you agreed to pay $2,000 for this van?
Yes.
No way. Okay, because you're a businessman. And a businessman doesn't pay twice as much for something that it's worth and it's listed in that book for. So this, sir, that you handed to me, you altered.
No.
Oh, yes, you did. Yeah, you did. $2,000, deposit $1,200. That's what you wrote here. So somebody wrote in a 1 in front of the 2 and changed the 1 to a 2. Somebody did that. Maybe it was the used car ferry or something. I don't know. Somebody did it, if not you. So don't try to pull one over on me, Mr. Burt. He should have given you your deposit back. But don't try to make money off this thing. We understand each other, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He says, get off my property, harassing me, or I'm gonna blow your head off. Call me in the
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rick Weaver says he was arrested when Stephen Burt filed a false report with the police. Stephen says Rick threatened him and then threw a brick at his car.
Now, he came to your house a couple of times for the money. Is that right?
Yes. The first time he came, I had told him it was non-refundable, and he left. He said he's going to sue me. I said, fine, do what you got to do. He came back again, and in good faith, I said, listen, I said, in good faith, we had a verbal agreement about the deposit. Said it was non-refundable. It was verbal. I said, in good faith, I'll give you half of it back when I get my disability check. He agreed to that. He said that was fine, and I told him to come back, you know, in about a month I'd have it. So he showed up 2 weeks later, and that's when all this other stuff occurred.
Well, tell me about all the other stuff, sir.
Me and my fiance were pulling up in my driveway. He pulled up behind us. We were walking up to my door, and he said, I need to get all your information. I said, what do you mean information? He said, for information to sue you. I said, you have my information. You know where I live. You know my name. I said, you have all my information. There's nothing. I said, you get off my property or I'm calling the cops because you're harassing me about this $100. And he left.
Why? It's not 100, it's 200.
Yeah, I know, but we had agreed on 100.
You didn't give him the 100?
No, because I didn't have my disability check yet.
You got the money from the car,
right,
sir.
I paid my mortgage.
That's not his problem.
I know.
And I believe that you threatened him because that's what he's going to tell me. Is that right, Mr. Burt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, I've already caught you in one lie, so let's not do it again. I want you to tell me exactly what happened the second time you went to his house and said to him, give me your information. Do you understand, Mr. Burt? I don't want you to fabricate anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
I went to Mr. Weaver's house. I seen him and his girlfriend pull in the driveway. I pulled behind him. Mr. Weaver came over to me. He says, I told you when I get my disability, I was going to give you the $100. I said, well, we need to let a judge decide what to do in this case because I shouldn't keep coming to you for a deposit that you owe me.
You're absolutely right.
I said, and the reason I'm here is just to get your complete address and a telephone number so they can contact you.
Okay.
He stormed away from me. He went in the house. He came out, slammed open the screen door. He was pointing an object at me. I couldn't see what it was, but he says, get off my property, you're harassing me, or I'm going to blow your effing head off. He caught me in. I got in my car. He came off the step. He threw a brick, and he did damage to my car, doing over $800, Your Honor. And I have pictures of the damage.
Well, let me see.
I also have a...
and I want to see the police report.
I don't have the police report with me. I just have... The only thing that I received was a complaint from Mr. Weaver. They never gave me a police report where I filed on him.
When did you file?
I filed the same day.
Where?
At Clementon Police Department.
So you left his house and went right to the police department?
Yes, ma'am, after he threw the brick.
Okay, when were you arrested, sir?
The next day, me and my fiance and her 12-year-old daughter were pulling up my driveway. Chief pulled in. I've known for years. He said, Rick, I had to arrest you. Someone said you threatened him with a gun. I said, you know me better than that. I said, I hate guns. I don't even let my kids play with plastic guns.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Shh, quiet.
And he said, well, I have to do my job. It's coming from Camden Superior Court, and I have to do my job. So they arrested me, took me down, fingerprinted me. I got arrested in front of my 12-year-old future stepdaughter, which was very embarrassing and degrading. They took me down in front of all my friends who were police officers. I'm friends with everybody in the town. Arrested me, fingerprinted me, photoed me. I had to go in a van, ride around in a van, a county van. They put me in a holding cell for 22 hours with 18 guys. The one was the guy was laying next to me on the floor, was defecating in.
I don't care. Don't go into it. Listen to me. Your goal could have been avoided if he gave him his $200. Right? All could have been avoided if he gave him his $200. Now, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you throw a brick at his car?
No, ma'am.
No, I don't believe you did.
No, ma'am.
I don't believe you did, but I do believe you threatened him.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, that I believe. I believe that you told him to get off or you're going to blow whatever. That I believe you did. You see what happens when you lie once, Mr. Burt? When you lie once, like this, and you hand this kind of stuff to me, then I find suspect other things that you say when it's not consistent. What is consistent is that he got annoyed with you coming around, that when you came back and you were very polite, you said to him, I need all your information. I need your full address. You had his address. All you had to do was look up the number on the house and you see his address. You wanted a phone number. Do you need a phone number? I'm not sure you do, but you wanted his phone number. I can understand him not wanting to give you the phone number because maybe he was afraid that you'd keep calling to harass him. But I do believe he threatened you. Don't believe this, don't believe this. So I believe you have the right to go and say he threatened me. If they followed through with that, I assume you told them the whole story, then you have no case. Now, you have a counterclaim for the return of your deposit and the damage to your car. He's suing you for $3,000 for intentional infliction of emotional distress for the time he spent in jail and being arrested, all of which came about because he didn't do the right thing. He, in effect, stole your money. You understand that? You stole his money. He gave you $200. You refused to give it back. He was very patient. You were treating him like a fool. And that's what happened to you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rick Weaver says he was arrested when Stephen Burt filed a false report with the police. Stephen says Rick threatened him and then threw a brick at his car.
You shouldn't have been a pig, which you were. You said, not only am I going to get $1,100 from this guy, I'm going to get another $200. It's $1,300 for the van. And the van is, according to you, got 200,000 miles, all banged up, not worth much, 13 years old, right?
Right.
So here I got top dollar for this van. So you spent 2 days in jail because you were a pig. As far as you're concerned, sir, you're suing him for $2,085.12, damage to your car, which I don't believe, and return of the van deposit, which you say is $800, which I also don't believe. $200. So you get $200, you get $200, you both get nothing. Goodbye.
Excuse you, may step out.
I think he should have handled it more like a man.
He pleaded his case. I had to pay $7,500 cash bail, and I spent 2 days in jail.
And the prosecutor in Camden ended up throwing it out anyway because it was
all the
based on a
cases were thrown
lie.
out because he lied to him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Yonkers versus Ponce, step forward, please.
20-year-old dietary aide Melissa Yonkis is suing her one-time blind date, 21-year-old student Richard Ponce, for the cost of a motel room and several in-room movies.
The two of you, according to what I've read, were introduced to each other socially through a friend and began communicating both on the phone and the internet. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you decided it was time to meet. And for some bizarre reason that I'm sure someone will explain to me briefly, you decided to have your first meeting at a motel. You arrived at the motel and you decided to put the room on your credit card.
That's correct.
You went into the motel to hang out. According to you, you got disgusted with something that happened in the motel because he was going out to visit a friend, and you stormed out. Then later on, you got a bill for 2 nights' stay at a hotel because he evidently decided to stay that night and an extra night, and for some movies that he had rented. You want him to pay you back for the 2 nights at the motel and the videos. Is that what this case is about?
That's correct.
He says that you stormed out, that somebody, he assumes it was you, vandalized his car, which caused him to get stuck in the motel for an extra day. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Just tell me why, briefly, you decided to have your first meeting in a motel.
Well, I'd worked late that night, and I live 45 minutes away from the defendant, so by the time I got to where he lives, it was already late, so there wasn't really much else we could do. We both live with our parents, we couldn't go to each other's houses, so we decided to go to a hotel. We had talked about it for a long time, and that was the most convenient day, so I decided.
So what time did you arrive at the motel?
I think it was around 10:30.
And what happened, sir, that caused you to want to leave?
Well, the thing was, I was just not really into her when I met up with her.
You didn't like what you saw?
Well, I went out with a drink with my buddy, which I invited her to come out with me. I came back to the hotel, and I realized that my car was vandalized.
Yes.
My tires were slashed. The car wouldn't start. I'd called a friend who was a tow truck driver to fix. This car was a loaner. This is not my car. So I had to get the car fixed before my friend had found out it had been vandalized, or else she wouldn't trust me ever again with the loaner whenever the emergency case might be needed again, you know.
Why did you stay at the motel 2 nights?
Well, my tow truck driver, the friend that I had was a tow truck, was out of town, and he told me he'd been in town.
Well, Mr. Ponce, you know, you're making this up as you're going. You live in that town, do you not?
I live in the area.
You live in the area. Go home.
Well, I couldn't leave the car there.
Why not? It wasn't gone anywhere. It was already vandalized, had flat tires, and it wouldn't run. So what do you mean you couldn't leave it there?
Well, I couldn't leave it there. I just don't trust leaving a car just vandalized like that. I'm sure a tow truck would just pick it up, a car like that, like, you know, it wasn't even mine. Then I'll lose track and see where it's going to go. So I stayed there the night. I waited until my friend came to pick it up. He fixed it, and unfortunately,
Let me see all your receipts,
I don't
sir.
have any evidence or receipts because of the fact that I paid him to fix the car, and it was not, like, he's not working in a mechanic shop.
You are so full of yourself. You are so full of it and yourself. I begin to zone out because there is nothing there of substance, nothing truthful. I don't even have to listen to it. I mean, I can fantasize about a whole bunch of other things. I'll listen to you. Listen, the first day of the motel you pay for. Do you understand? That's your mistake. How much did the second night cost? Show me your bill.
Okay. With the movies and the extra day, it cost me $221.
For the second night in the movies?
Yeah, altogether it was $360.
Did you watch any of the movies with him?
No, I left after the first night.
$221. Listen, consider yourself lucky. He's a real loser. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $221. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This car business, I don't even know where it came from.
She had vandalized my car.
He was the one who pursued me. I don't know what he's talking about. He wasn't into me because he totally was. He made all the first move, everything.
She's pretty much overconfident with herself. She thought just, like, you know, with her looks, she can get everything, you know.
I'm just happy she saw through that whole lie.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case number 212, Duenas versus Cho.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Duenas, it looks to me from your papers that you decided to go into a business with someone.
Yes.
With whom?
With the defendant, Brian Chow.
And you know him how?
He's a family friend.
And you know what his business is?
Yes.
What is his business?
He currently sells reticulated pythons, snakes, exotic animals, monitors, lizards.
And you like those things?
My ex-boyfriend did.
Did you?
I was more for the investment part.
Okay.
I was the investor at the time.
At the time you reached out to this family friend who was in the exotic snake business, your idea was to create a business.
No, Your Honor. It was actually the defendant's idea.
I don't care whose idea it was. Your idea was to create a business with your ex-boyfriend.
I agreed to the business, but it wasn't our idea.
Whether you agreed to the business or not, you invested money in the business.
Yes.
Which means that unless there's something wrong with you, and I see that there is not, you wanted to go into business with the defendant.
Yes.
So let's be easy.
Okay.
And at the time that you wanted to go into business with the defendant, I'll get to what the nature of that business was in a second. I know it had something to do with that wonderful-looking snake. You had a boyfriend.
Yes.
And the boyfriend liked snakes.
Yes.
And you went along with the ride.
Yes.
What month and year were you still with the boyfriend when you decided to go into the business, which you will explain to me?
Back in November of 2019.
So right before COVID.
Yes.
What was your boyfriend doing at the time?
He was working at an airport.
And he and Mr. Cho were friends?
Yes.
How long had you known him?
2-3 weeks, Your Honor.
Where did you meet him?
He came into my store and acquired
I didn't ask anything. That's how you met him?
Yes.
I'm going to get through this case and get this lovely thing out of the courtroom as quickly as I possibly can. Well, some people find them exotic and gorgeous. I find them a little bit squirmy. So in November 2019, boyfriend and you decided to go into the business. Explain the business that you invested in.
I invested on 5 reticulated pythons, breed them, and make a profit out of them.
So the intention was never for you to take these pythons to your residence?
No.
And you understood that? No.
They're buying the snake, Your Honor.
Okay. How much were the 5 snakes?
In total, it was $10,000, plus the feeding and the cages that he claimed that the snakes needed.
Was
it your agreement that for $10,000, Miss Duenas and the boyfriend were going to buy 1 male snake and 4 females?
They decided to buy 2 snakes.
Well, when was that decision made, sir?
A week after I met him, because
When you went into the shop, did you ultimately decide on 1 male, 1 female?
No, so how it is, Your Honor, is he knew my ex-boyfriend prior to the business 5 years ago. He sold him a exotic Australian monitor lizard.
Okay, what I want you to tell me is, did there come a time when the arrangement changed, so instead of 1 male and 4 females, you were supposed to get 1 male and 1 female?
No, Your Honor. The whole way it was supposed to be 1 male and 4 females.
Do you have any sort of a receipt for that?
We have Instagram conversations.
Do you have that?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Right here.
1 male, 4 females. The guy's asking $15,000 for all, and then he says, I'll drop it to 12. Then somebody, I don't have 12 now. I just spent a lot on my monitor. Let's go the rest. Okay, so he said, I don't have that money now. He says, I'm getting 16 lace monitors. You remember that discussion? And then that's a big investment for me right now. I'm saving up to get a house, but I'm down to breed my monitor with any of your monitors. Keep going. So far, I don't have a contract. And then somebody says, no, you pay half and I pay half. Who wrote that?
He did.
Next month. And that's from you. That's from the reptile.
I had to see it, Your Honor.
Okay. If I invest half with you, what will be my return and in how long? Think about it. That's will be the baby's mix price. JTK Reptiles, that's you. Somebody's on their way. That's you and your boyfriend?
Yes. We were on our way to give him the money.
And how much money were you going to give him?
We gave him the first time $6,000 and then $4,000. A total of $10,000.
You received that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what did you purchase with the $10,000?
If you look at the message from there, what she showed you is they pay half of the 5 snake. It means they get 2 of the snake, and I get 2 of the snake. They've been lying to you guys since day one. They want to purchase 2 snake. Then I told them, like, if you look at the message, I can use my male to breed it to your female. It's an investment for you guys, not for us. It's no us. It's not with them at all.
Mr. Cho, were they supposed to take possession of the snakes?
They're supposed to pick up the snake. That's why they come to the store with it.
Which snakes were they supposed to take possession of?
One right here and one out there.
Is that a male or a female?
This is the female.
Has she had babies yet?
No, I don't breed her because she don't belong to me.
And how old is she?
Right now, she should be about 6 years old, going 7.
How long do they live?
Over 30 to 40 years, depends on how you take care of them, like I take care of them.
And there's another one outside the courtroom that's the same as this one. Also a female?
Yes.
And you gave them the $10,000. He acknowledges the $10,000. So we have a verbal contract that you were going to pay for some snakes. He was going to order the snakes for you, which he did. And that was accomplished, and the payment for the snakes was done on what date, the first payment?
Approximately in November of 2019.
And when was the next $4,000 payment?
The same month, I would say like a week.
Good. And when did you order the snakes, Mr. Chow?
Right after I get yeah, because I cannot just acquire the animal without the payment.
Okay, so now you've got the payment and you order the animals.
Yes.
On what date do they arrive?
2 days after, they're FedEx delivered to my shop.
And when did you notify the plaintiffs that they were there?
The day that they came, I tell them the snake. I notify the boyfriend.
Okay. Now, Ms. Duenas, a week later you went to the shop. And what happened when you went to the shop? Now he's got $10,000 and he's got 2 snakes.
I just want to clarify, Your Honor, that we even gave him money for the tanks because here in the conversations it says that he can't continue having them in tubs. So he needs us to give him money to invest to buy the tanks to house the snakes. So our original plan was for him to keep the snakes because he has the shop. We, at the time, lived in an apartment. He was well aware of this, that we couldn't have big snakes in our apartment.
He says no, you say yes. I'm not sure how I can resolve that. I'm trying to simplify this contract.
Cassandra Duenas claims exotic pet store owner Brian Chow owes her money for a snake breeding business. Brian says Cassandra changed her mind about the business after he purchased the snakes.
Okay, part of the contract was fulfilled because you paid him. Then he ordered the snakes. Second part was fulfilled. I want you to tell me what happened when you went to see the snakes. You say to see them. He says to pick them up. A week later.
So when we went to the shop,
Who
what
went?
led us to...
Who went?
My ex-boyfriend and I. What led us to there is because after he obtained the snakes, he was not reaching out back to us. He was
Just a week later.
Yes.
You went to the shop. He notified you that the snakes were there. There's no question about that. Now, you went to the shop for what purpose?
Because he switched it and then he said it was 2 snakes when originally the plan was 1 male and 4 females. That 1 male was going to breed with the 4. So right out the back, he lied to us what our agreement was here, that he clearly texted us and said 4 males and 1 female. So it was 5 snakes. So we went to the shop.
Yeah, but there was a problem there with pricing. In the Instagram messages, a suggestion, because some of the texts were unavailable. He said originally they were $15,000. And then there was some discussion of $12,000. And then there was some discussion of $6,000. He says he'll pay half and you pay half. And supposed to give them the snakes. Why would you pay half?
Then they get the 2 of the snake, and I get the 2 of the other snake. It's 5 of them. And the one that we're gonna pretty much, they can have it if they want it, or I can use it when I need it.
You mean the male?
Yes.
So that was the business. Anyway, you went there, and what happened?
So I went in recording. My ex-boyfriend told me, hey, record.
Don't tell me what your ex-boyfriend told you.
Okay.
Just tell me you went in and what happened.
We went in there and we asked him, hey, we agreed on 5 snakes. Now you switched up and you said now it's 2 snakes. First you told us it was 15,000, then 12,000. You were playing games with us the whole time. And at this point, after a week later that he said that he got the snakes, then he told us it was 2 snakes. At that point, we were upset because we had planned and we had counted with 5 snakes. That's why we gave him that ridiculous amount of money. And basically, we didn't want nothing else to do with him. We wanted our money back. And that's what we went for, our money back.
Just a second. Yes. So you walked in wanting your money back?
Yes.
Do you have any text messages, Instagram messages, suggesting that before you got there, you had said to him, we changed our mind, we don't want to be in business with you, we want our money back?
No.
Nothing?
No. He wasn't reaching out, sorry, Your Honor, he wasn't reaching out to us. He was sending him video calls, he was calling him through text message, my ex-boyfriend.
I don't care. You paid the money, he got snakes. The question is, you think there's supposed to be more than 2? He says 2. More money. So the ultimate agreement was for 2. So what happened when you went there? You're there with your boyfriend.
Yes.
And you say, I want my money back. And he says?
He says, I don't have the money here. I have 2 snakes here.
Are you telling me that he didn't call you and say your snakes are in? Is that what you're suggesting? Do you have an invoice for these snakes, Mr. Chow?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the invoice for the snakes. By the way, your boyfriend has other of these exotic creatures. Is that right?
To the people that I get them.
What kind of exotic creatures does he have?
One that he sold him, an Australian water monitor from the Philippines.
And?
He has 2 rhino iguanas, a pair. He has a, I don't know the name, but it changes colors.
Mr. Chow, 18.
And those are for the lace monitor that
Are these lace monitors?
Yes.
Sorry, Your Honor, these are not lace monitors. These are reticulated pythons. These are not monitors. Monitors are lizards. These are snakes.
Lace monitor bell face.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that's not that.
No, Your Honor.
Well, these are useless.
Yes, but that's connected to the rest of what they did.
What does it have to do with these 2 snakes? What I want to see is when you purchased these 2 snakes.
Yeah, I don't have it, Your Honor.
Well, get it. What do you mean you don't have it?
I left it at home. I'm so sorry.
Well, what'd you bring these for?
Those are the time that they both got arrested when they went to my shop.
Yeah, but you now have those back, right?
Yes.
You have those back. So if you had to take documents, why didn't you take the documents for the snakes in question? The lace monitor lizards aren't in question. You have them back. They may have taken them. They were arrested and you finally got them back. So I don't understand that.
I just mistaken grabbed the wrong paper.
Well, Mr. Chow, do you deal with these people regularly, that you buy snakes from them regularly?
Not really. Depends on the size of the animal and depends what kind of animal.
Well, you have the date of purchase someplace, Mr. Chow, and I don't want you to waste my time.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. That's why I just said I don't have it, Your Honor.
Did they purchase that kind of snake?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
It was 5 snakes, Your Honor.
Don't give me 5. That type of snake.
Oh, yes, the reticulated python, yes.
And the one that's outside is the same, correct?
Yes.
And you did not purchase baby snakes.
No.
You wanted full-grown snakes because they were a business. You wanted them able to be breeding. Okay. Should have brought the paperwork. And you went in there that day in November because you had changed your mind.
Yes, and on top, yes.
Because you had changed your mind.
Yes.
That's the answer. You had changed your mind. You can give me a whole bunch of excuses, and you told him you changed your mind, you want your money back. And he said no, because I ordered the snakes, and I got them in, and they're yours. Contract is completed. I'm merely holding your property. And then there was a kerfuffle.
Pay for them.
No, that's not your business. That's not your business, how much you really paid for them. He made a deal. You paid him. If he got them for $2,000 and you paid him $10,000, that's nothing. The kerfuffle, let's draw this down to its most simple English. Mm-hmm. You wanted your money back, and you wanted to cancel this contract.
Yes, it's just when we arrived, those weren't the snakes that we ordered. These were the breed of it, is the ones that he was putting here on Instagram, which I have, which is not those. So we ordered something and we got something else. So
is what you're telling me, you went there to pick up your... Because now it's changed. You went there to pick up your snakes. Mm-hmm. When you got there, they turned out to be a different...
It's breed. It's like the...
Pythons, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. They're pythons, but it was a different kind of python. Mm-hmm. Now you're telling me because it was a different python, you wanted your money back.
Yes, because it wasn't what we paid for. It's like we paid for a Ferrari and we got a Toyota, basically. It's basically
You know nothing about pythons, so... You're taking your cues from your boyfriend because that's his strong suit. Is it yours as well?
No, I'm just the investor.
Right. So your boyfriend had a conversation with him and said, those aren't the snakes that I ordered.
Yes.
Okay. And I want my money back.
Yes.
And you said you recorded all this.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Exotic pet store owner Brian Chow of wrongfully keeping money for a snake breeding business. Brian says he fulfilled their agreements and claims Cassandra stole property from his store.
And you said you recorded all this?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. You just press play.
Which one?
Oh, right here. And then you press that.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You guys just want to do the money back?
Yeah. The $10,180 in total, and then money on top of that for lending you the money and everything.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, because we didn't see this coming. You just kept on giving us a runaround and a runaround.
Oh, no, what?
About the mail. Remember that?
No, that's why I'm waiting for the mail to be delivered. I don't have the mail.
Yeah, but remember you had told us that the guy had it because he had to leave and he had to gut out because he has surgery and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We gave you the money right there and then. You don't understand what mission we had to go
I didn't know. I don't mind getting you guys your money back, but I don't have cash.
We told you we want to do business correct, and you just keep on giving us another day and another day.
You told us that as soon as we give you the money, the snake was going to be here.
Yeah, it's not about me. It's the guy. It's not me. I'm just buying the snake from a different guy.
And then another thing where you messed up, you said 5 snakes for $6,000 and you come at me with 4 and you wasted my money.
Yeah, and I told you that he gave me only 4 snakes, the big giant.
Yeah, and why would you waste money if I told you to get the 5 snakes?
If you worry about the last one, I can pay for it. It's a mail that we don't need.
But I have to do all this, so I have to get like this for you to do that?
No, bro.
How can I trust you now?
Bro, the 4 snake is right here.
I'm gonna go get something.
What's wrong with you, bro? I'm just asking you. Let's talk.
No, we're not gonna talk. I told you don't with me.
I don't talk with you, bro.
Thing, dog.
Why? What's
That's
wrong?
Because we gave you a lot of money. We're talking about over $10,000, and you're just giving us the runaround. First, you told us 5 snakes.
This is what we can do. I'll take, and when you get the money, I'll give it back. Yeah, female too.
No.
Oh no? All right. Well,
come on, bro. You're looking at a 15 grand.
I told you don't play with me.
I don't play with you.
You don't even have the money right now.
Open them up, man.
I got half of the money.
Open them up.
I'm trying to talk to you, bro.
No, there's no more talking because we gave you the money right here and then. That's unprofessional. You're trying to scam us, and you don't do that to people like that.
I didn't. How did I scam you?
Before I open it.
You're telling me that you don't have the money.
I have half of the money because I'm waiting for the snake. Bro, if you guys gonna get arrested.
There's no arrested. We're just getting what you took from us. Over $10,000.
I'm trying to talk to you.
$10,000.
You're gonna open it.
I'm trying to talk
No, we try to talk to you, and you're telling us you're gonna have the money. I have everything in video.
I don't care. You can record me, bro.
Alright, so are you gonna
You
open
don't
it?
play with people's money. You can call
You owe
whoever
me
you
over
want.
$15,000.
This is 15 grand.
We don't care.
Can you call a cop, please?
No. Alright, watch out. Come back away. I told you, don't play with my money.
What are you doing?
What do you mean? He owes me money.
I don't care. He owes his money.
They're gonna deal with it. With the police.
Now I'll play that video, please. That's your boyfriend breaking into the...
Yes.
And when he broke the glass and took out whatever lizards he took out with him, where did he take them? You were still with him?
Yes, he put it in a bin.
And is that you carrying them out?
Yes, and that's the reason why I was charged with the robbery, just because I walked out with the item.
That's all right. That's fine. That's a co-conspirator. Ultimately, the lizards that you took were returned to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it seems, Mr. Chow, at the beginning of this case, I must acknowledge to you that I was sympathetic to your position, that they had ordered snakes. You ordered them. You got them.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then the contract is completed. Uncross your arms.
No, I'm so sorry.
But it's clear from the tape that the plaintiff played for me that you acknowledged that you did not fulfill your end of the contract, that you were blaming your inability to fulfill your end of the contract on some third party. Is that what I heard in the tape? I mean, you know, my hearing's not really acute, but that's what you said. I have no control. I can give you back half your money, but I can't give you back all your money. So the contract was not complete.
It was complete because they supposed to get only 2 snakes.
I didn't see anywhere where it says just 2 snakes. There was a whole bunch of conversation there about the male snake, and you were supposed to deliver to them the male snake. And you said, I don't have that money now, but I can get that money for you. I can give you the first money. I don't have the second money. It was clear that the contract was not complete unless you have something to show me that it was. But what I heard, it was not. That doesn't mean that Ms. Duenas has the right to break your property and to steal property that belongs to you. What they do is they come into a court and say, you have my money. The contract was not fulfilled. I want my money back. That's what you do. Are you in the business of breeding snakes for your store?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if we were to go on the internet now,
Yes, Your Honor.
how much would one of those snakes, which is 6 or 7 years old, according to you, sell for?
Right now, this size,
on the internet for sale. How fast would it take you to sell it?
I still say like about a month and a half.
They're rare.
Yes.
Is that right? That's what you're saying.
It's rare and is just not a lot of people will acquire that much money.
Even though they can sell the babies. And how many babies do they have?
In a year, they can do from 30 to 50.
And each one of the 30 to 50, you can sell for $3,500.
Yes.
I suggest you do that. She gets her $10,000 back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I'm very happy, and I'm happy that she was able to see herself that the defendant got caught multiple lies.
They're just a customer.
He wasn't truthful since the beginning. Ever since we invested.
They bought a snake. I just want to give their snake, but they don't want to take it.
And it's very sad how nowadays you can't trust in anybody.
I think one great lesson that a lot of people can take away from that is you have to know the business that you're investing in. I can appreciate she was sort of doing it for her boyfriend and he had the knowledge about the exotic animals, but that's her money at the end of the day. And if you're going to put your own hard-earned money on the line, it should be a business that you at least put in the time to learn about.
To understand.
Exactly. So that you don't have to rely on somebody else to make the right decisions.
Who's going to be gone tomorrow?
Exactly. Exactly.
And your money
who potentially could, and then you're left on your own, having to sue and navigate a field that you really know nothing about.
Smart. And it was also an example of a contract that was not fully executed. I actually thought when I started the case that there was an offer, an acceptance, you performed, paid the money, got the snakes, and then you can't change your mind. Once you get it, you say, well, I changed my mind. But that's not what happened.
Nope.
And her video demonstrated that that's not what happened because Mr. Chow started to waft. Well, it's not my fault I don't have your mail. It's another guy, and I would give it to you, but I can't give it to you as soon as I get it, you know.
Yeah.
So he did not deliver on the contract. So I had very little compulsion other than to say, you don't have to take the snake and you get your money back.
Yeah.
Anyway, done. Yeah. And the snake is gone.
Left the building.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2044, Bearden versus Thompson.
Mr. Bearden.
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that the defendant owes you the balance of a dog that you sold to him.
Correct, Your Honor.
That's what the case is about. Defendant says he doesn't really think he got what he bargained for, and while he has no intention of returning the dog to you, he doesn't want to pay the balance.
Yes.
Be a yes. So I have a couple of questions because it's not a terribly difficult case. You say in your complaint that you are a breeder of full-blood tricolor bullies.
Correct. Bully breed, American bullies, and these are tricolor American bullies, which have 5 different distinctions within the American bully breed.
I don't want you to try to confuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more than I'm confused about this.
Yes, ma'am.
Is an American bully a pit bull?
No, I have proof.
It is not.
It is not.
What is it a combination of?
Yes, it is a combination of.
Well, I know it's a combination of, but it's been recognized by the American Kennel Club as an independent breed of dog. But that is only recently. What is the American bully a combination of?
Honestly, can I read what I have?
No, if you say I don't, listen to me.
Yeah,
I know it's very, very hard for
Yeah.
men to say 3 words. I don't know. Somehow they can say, I love you, I hate you, get out of my parking space, you're snoring. They can say a whole bunch of things, but they have trouble saying those 3 words.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know.
I fully own that. Yes, ma'am.
I
don't know.
Don't know. Well, Sarah, look it up.
Will do.
American bully.
Says that originally standardized and recognized as a breed in 2004 by the American Bully Kennel Club.
2004. So if it's recognized as a breed in 2004, it's got to be a mix of something.
So the American Bully was started by crossing the American Pit Bull Terrier with other dogs in the Bully breed family, and sometimes dogs outside of the Bully breed family. But descendants from the crosses between ancient bulldogs and a variety of British Terriers. And this says an American Bully was started by the crossing of the American Pit Bull Terrier with dogs in the other Bully breed family.
And ultimately, it was recognized as a breed unto itself, although I don't understand how that could happen if you're a cross between one breed, the American Pit Bull, and a variety of other dogs. You know, that's like a golden doodle. That's like a golden retriever and a poodle. Isn't that what a golden doodle is?
I believe so.
But it's not a breed unto itself. It's a cross between a couple of dogs, so it takes many years. And this sounds to me, at least, Mr. Bearden, as the bullies that you're describing that you breed, the genesis of that breed is an American Pit Bull with a variety of other things. Could be a boxer.
It could also, like the father, it could be a Rottweiler. Like the father of the puppies that he got, he has all the markings of a Rottweiler, but he has the head shape and body style that represents more of the Pit Bull style.
So that's information that I am now at least a little armed with. So now I'm going to come back to you. You're the breeder. And you said the puppies, that the litter that you sold Tim, one of the puppies, has Rottweiler in it.
No, I'm not saying that it has Rottweiler. I'm saying that the physical representation of it, the markings, the brown over the eyes, the brown hair, that's what the dad looks like. The puppies don't look like that.
Just a second. So you bred the dogs. What breed is the father?
The father is American Bully. He's considered an XL American Bully.
The father is an American Bully. In the father's history, it appears, based upon the look of the dog, is this what I'm understanding?
Yes.
It's a Rottweiler. In the history of the dog...
Yeah, it could possibly, yes. That's why he looks like...
Pit bull.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, what a combo.
He's beautiful. He's a beautiful dog.
They're beautiful dogs. Both of those dogs, by the way, will not be covered by most insurance policies. Pit bulls and Rottweilers. You do know that?
Yes.
Say yes loud.
Yes, yes, I know that, yes.
Okay. Did you know that?
I did not.
Well, it's interesting. Do you own your own home?
Yeah.
Yes is an answer.
Yes.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
Yes.
In your application for homeowners insurance, they would ask you what kind of dog you have, if you have any. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Did you write down what kind of a dog you had?
I didn't have a dog at the time.
I want you to read over your homeowner's policy, wherever you live. Who are you covered by?
Not exactly sure.
What do you mean not certain? You don't know who your homeowner's policy is with?
It's all in the bill.
What
It's all paid for, one yearly fee.
You mean for your car, for your home,
Yes.
everything else? I would check, sir. If you own your own home, did you have a lot invested in your home?
Yes.
I would take a look, because many insurance companies now will not insure or charge an extra premium, if they would insure, homes that have, as part of their household, certain breeds of dogs. I am telling you, and he knows it, that pit bulls and Rottweilers are in that group.
Yep.
So if something happens and your dog bites somebody and they will sue you, and you'll say, well, I have homeowners insurance, your policy might just disclaim.
That's why I didn't want a pit bull.
What do you think you got?
A pit bull.
You got an American Bully, and it's not so hard to look up. You do have a tablet or something?
A bully, when you look it up, it actually is American Bulldog and a Stanford Terrier. It's not...
an American Bulldog and a Staffordshire Terrier. You know what Staffordshire Terrier is.
Yeah.
What is it?
I mean, it's pit bull.
Right. That's what it is. Everybody tries to use different language because they want to get away from that. It's a bully, it's a terrier, it's a something else. But bottom line, that cover you for. And you have knowledge of that. You got to be careful. So it was your understanding that you were purchasing from the plaintiff a what?
A full 100% bully.
There's no 100% bully. There is no 100% bully. You just told me a bully is a mix between a...
After so long, it's considered a full bully. That's from my understanding.
That's not what that says. It says, among other things. You really have to be more vigilant. Don't tell me what your friends told you. Don't tell me what they did. Don't tell me what they said. He told you that he was selling you an American Bully.
Dog breeder Kenneth Bearden claims his customer, Zach Thompson, owes for the balance of a puppy. Zach says he did not receive the full-blooded American Bully he purchased.
Okay, tell me when and under what circumstances Mr. Thompson purchased this puppy from you.
Yes, Your Honor. On April 28th, the defendant reached out to me. He was stating his name. Sorry. He was stated his name, and that his daughter was playing with the puppy of a friend of his, and that friend of his had bought one of the puppies from my litter. She fell in love with the dog. She loved it. He wanted to come by and possibly get another puppy.
How old's your daughter?
7.
If I could do that thing that some people do and, cross their eyes on purpose, I would do that for you. Now, is this your only child?
Yes.
Okay.
After he reached out to me, we exchanged numbers and spoke for a few days over Facebook Messenger. I gave him my number. We had a conversation on the phone about prices, about the breed, and payments, because he reached out to me originally stating that, hey, I don't have that full amount that you would be asking for.
Just a second. Could I see text messages where you've discussed the price?
Yes, ma'am.
And where you agreed on a price?
Do you want text messages and the Facebook messages?
Yeah.
Okay. It's
read any.
quite a bit. It's all in order from front to back. From
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just about the price of the dog, please.
Well, like I said, Your Honor, the price of the dog was a verbal conversation.
I understand that. The initial discussion that you had with him, you told him what you wanted for the dog.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Thompson, and you wrote, I told him I would even take the runt if you're willing to help me get a puppy for my daughter. Right. Okay. How old was the puppy when the puppy was delivered to Mr. Thompson?
They were right at 2 months and 2 weeks, I believe.
So about 10 weeks old.
Yeah, they were born February 20th. This was May 1st when they were.
Do you have a contract with him other than over the phone?
When he came there that morning?
It's just that's either a yes or a no.
No.
You do not have a written contract.
The only contract that we have is of him giving me his ID, letting me take a picture of it because I didn't have any pen or ink at the time.
You don't have a contract with him?
No.
Are you a married guy?
No, Your Honor.
Yeah. You know, how did I know that? Because you talk a lot. Most married guys don't talk so much. They answer 2 or 3 words, and that's it. Do you live alone?
Yes, it's just me and my son.
How old is your son?
He's 12.
And how many of these dogs do you have roaming around?
I have 2.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, the plaintiff delivered the dog to you. You had no written contract with him. You just agreed to take the dog at a certain price, correct?
Correct.
He agreed to sell you the dog, and you discussed he got this much with papers, this much without, but he was willing to work with you without papers, correct?
Yes, correct.
So you were getting a dog without AKC papers for how much?
$500.
$500.
$100 down.
Just a sec. What?
$100 down and then $100 every 2 weeks until it was paid off.
So you gave him the $100?
Yes.
And then you never paid him any more?
Well, before the next payment was even there, I questioned him about.
He told you that he was selling you an American Bully.
Yep.
Without papers.
Yes.
So that you weren't going to use this dog for any breeding purposes.
Yes. Didn't plan to.
Because you don't have papers, and that would be sort of foolish for you.
Yeah.
Did your daughter fall in love with the dog? Got the dog that she wanted, right?
Yeah,
a little female called
Zoe.
Zoe.
Yeah, she picked her out.
Your Honor,
And she just
I disagree with that also.
What?
When he originally arrived that morning, he was trying to get a different dog. He wanted a certain one.
Just a second. Your daughter picked this dog out.
Yeah.
Correct.
You disagree with that?
The daughter and him both wanted a different dog at first.
We had our mind set on a certain puppy before we got there. When we showed up, the puppy that we wanted was getting taken by another people that she.
So your daughter picked another puppy?
Yes, yes.
Correct.
Let's not make this harder than it is. She picked the one that she was happy with.
Yeah.
And she's still happy with it.
Yep.
And she likes it.
Yes.
You wouldn't take it away from her.
No, I would not.
You wouldn't give it back to him.
No, I would not.
Then you have to pay for it.
Well, I would have.
What is so hard about that?
Well, he lied about the shots and never sent me proof for the first
Just a
shot.
second. You have a contract. That's if you're going to pay. He says $750. You say $500. Whether it's $750 or $500, what you're supposed to have if you're a breeder is a written contract. If that's what you do, you have a written contract. I always have a contract when I buy puppies. The breeders, reputable breeders, demand it. They say that they guarantee the health of the puppy for a certain period of time. You can take the dog to have it checked by a vet within a certain period of time. It says whether the puppy had its first shots or second shots or had no shots. It says all that. That's it. Other than that, I don't remember what these contracts said, but I bought many, and they are pretty much standard. Yeah. You bought a dog for either $750 to its heritage.
I have not.
Well, then you can't tell me what your friend said to you. Whether your friend said that looks like, it doesn't look like, I don't know what it looks like. That's not relevant. If he's saying to you, this is an American Bully, and you've had the dog professionally tested, the DNA of that dog tested, and it turns out that it's a cacophony of things, which clearly it is because it's a mix of things. What if you have to pay for the dog? You ate the steak. You don't want to give it back. The only question is, how much did you make an arrangement to pay? You say it was $750.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any paperwork to show that?
I do not, Your Honor. Like I said, when he left, I have them contracts. I didn't have any more printer ink. He had to leave and be somewhere else. That's when I asked to go ahead and take a picture of his ID, and I plan to get the contract at a later date.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Was he originally asking for $1,000 for the dog?
He never originally asked me for $1,000.
No, but is that what your friend paid for his dog?
I don't know what my friend paid for the dog, but I know that he was having trouble selling him, so he marked down the price. I have a Facebook post where he actually, on his own Facebook, before I'd even...
Oh, do you have what...
I don't have it printed out. I have it on my phone. I'm willing to give
Oh, yeah, I'd like to see it. Does it list a price on it?
It's don't have a price. It just talks about where he's willing to sell them and work with people on deals and stuff because he couldn't sell them this before I even met the guy.
Okay, well, so do you acknowledge that you posted that, sir? That you were willing to make deals with people because you were having difficulty getting rid of the puppies? You're going to pay him the balance of $400 now because you have the dog. Do you understand? A bully isn't a full-bred dog. A bully has a lot of other things in it. Do you understand?
Dog breeder Kenneth Bearden is accusing his customer, Zach Thompson, of refusing to pay the balance on an American Bully puppy. Zach says he didn't receive the purebred he was promised and tried to return the dog.
And do you acknowledge that you posted that, sir? That you were willing to make deals with people because you were having difficulty getting rid of the puppies?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I'd like to see his...
Make it a little...
Facebook.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
5 pups left and needing good homes. These are full-blooded American tricolor bullies. Please help us find them homes. I'm willing to negotiate and rediscuss price payment at any point. Okay, so you're willing to work with anybody?
Exactly.
Okay, so when you had a conversation with him, tell me what price you arrived at.
We arrived at $750. And when we spoke, he told me that he would give me $100 every week. And also in our text messages, it also states where he mentioned if his taxes came, he would pay me in full.
Okay, but you talked about pay $100 every week.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
In my messages, there's a few times where I reference $500, and he never says, well, it's $750, not $500.
Okay, can I see those?
Yeah.
I'd like to see them.
In that message...
Now, just,
and we also talked...
Just give me the message.
Okay. Here's the one that states 500 right here.
Yeah, I believe that the price you negotiated was $500 because the only one of the litigants that has any messages, that has any number in it, is the defendant, who talks, at least on 2 occasions, of the fact that he doesn't want to pay $500 for a mixed breed dog. And there's nothing in it that says, sir, it wasn't $500, it was $750. You gave me $100, so you still owe me $650. That's what the response should have been, and you didn't do that, sir. So
I would have had no problem paying the $500 if it was a full bully. No problem at all.
You're going to pay him the balance of $400 now because you have the dog.
Okay.
Do you understand? A bully isn't a full-bred dog. A bully has a lot of other things in it. Do you understand?
Well,
and you want to keep the dog.
No, I wanted to bring the dog back. He said I could bring the dog back, and then he wrote back and said, okay, I could bring it back.
I just asked you a question. You want me to have her read it back to me? You just said...
I don't want to bring the dog back now.
Right now, we're here. I asked you a question. Do you want to give him the dog back?
If that's what it takes, yes.
You ready to take the dog back?
I do not want. Once we sold the animal,
Well, if he says that there is no proof that this litter was a full-blooded American bully, and you have the American Kennel Club records that show that it is, that because you must have registered the litter. That's what happens, Mr. Bearden, when you have a full-blooded dog. You register the litter, and then if you're selling it with papers, the new owner will register the dog with the AKC in their name. So all you have to do now is show me the registration for that litter. That's either a show me or I don't have it.
I do not have that, Your Honor. Because there was no reason. That's why the puppies were $2,000 with papers and $1,000 without. There's no reason going the extra mile. That's why they have the $2,000 option of me taking that headache off their shoulder.
No. That's a lot of who shot John, sir. If you are a breeder, that's what you identify yourself as. I am a breeder of.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay? And clearly you are a breeder of because he saw puppies from another litter of yours, which drove him and his daughter to contact you.
Yes, Your Honor.
So if you're a breeder, you register that litter so that if you want to sell it, a puppy with papers, you've already registered that litter. Either you can use it or not. Do you understand what I'm saying? You would know exactly what I'm saying.
That's the normal process of things,
okay.
Yes.
And right now, Mr. Thompson, at this point, I agree that you agreed to pay $500 for the dog and gave him a $100 deposit.
Yes.
which means you owe him $400.
He said I could bring the dog back at one point because I wanted to bring the dog back because I didn't think it was the dog I wanted.
I'm talking about now.
Yes, I know, but then
he said no.
And then he said no 2 days later, and then he said he's going to take me to court, or he threatened me and said he's going to have someone come get the money out of me if not. And then that's when I stopped responding. After he threatened me, I stopped responding. And that was before our first initial payment. That was within the first 10 days, and it wasn't even in the 14 days yet when I was going to make my payment.
Did you pay him?
No, I didn't.
100.
Never sent me shots. He lied about those.
Yeah, just a second.
And then he threatened me.
Do you want to return the dog to him, or do you want to pay him the $400?
I'll return the dog to him.
Fine. He's returning the dog to you.
And
You understand?
I paid all the vet bills.
Just a second.
Vet bills.
I don't care, but I will prepare an order that within 5 days of today, you will deliver the dog back. He delivered the dog to you?
No, I went to his house, picked it up.
You went to his house? Great. How far do you live from each other?
30 minutes, probably.
Is there a police precinct in the middle? Because I don't want this done at anybody's house. What police precinct is closest to you, sir?
It'd be Bullitt County Police Department.
That's where you will meet 5 days from today. What's a good time for you?
4 p.m., 5 p.m.
What's a good time for you?
Whenever.
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
4 o'clock.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fine. We'll prepare an order, give it to you. You meet at the precinct and exchange the dog.
Will he pay me from what I gave him?
He'll give you back the $100.
What about all the vet bills?
That you eat.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the order. That's what he wants.
Sounds good.
Let him go explain it to his daughter. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Let him win.
This court is adjourned.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly I'm going to do moving forward.
I didn't feel like I got the dog that I wanted.
I never made a threat to him, never did anything like that. I told him that I would take him to court.
It was definitely a better dog out there.
I'm an honest, hardworking man, and I deserve what he's supposed to pay to me.
So I was so confused because as I'm looking for where it comes from, because I know it's not a purebred, it said the American Bully is a great family dog because although bred from pit bulls, which sometimes have an aggressive tendency, the aggressive tendencies of American Bullies have been bred out. And I was a little bit confused how you could breed out the aggression.
I don't know. I hate to be that guy going home today to explain to his 7-year-old that she's losing her puppy.
Yeah.
Paid wages, property damage, and stolen belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Gus. Case number 2028, Eliasoff Blanchard versus Blanchard.
Thank you, Kevin.
Welcome.
Eliasoff?
Yes, ma'am.
That's you. How old are you?
19, almost 20.
19.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do?
I am a server.
Since when?
As of June of this year.
This is your boyfriend?
A fiance, yes, ma'am.
Fiance. And how long has he been your fiance?
For over a year.
What does he do for a living?
He is currently unemployed.
When was the last time he had a job?
That was about a year ago.
What kind of work did he do a year ago?
Warehouse work.
Is there any reason that he hasn't worked in a year?
He has concussions and back injuries. And
from what?
From car accidents.
Does he currently have any lawsuits pending with regard to those accidents?
No, ma'am.
So the accidents were your fault?
No, they were the other people's faults.
The other people had no
insurance? The other person didn't have insurance at the time. So later on, he ended up stating that he did have insurance and got out of the ticket.
Do you see a doctor regularly?
Not anymore, no. I used to, though, until I ran out of my insurance for health insurance. And then the bill just kept stacking up on me.
At that time, did you have an attorney?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever have an attorney with regard to, did you ever consult an attorney with regard to these accidents? No.
No.
Okay, fine. Is there any reason why you're not working?
Yes, ma'am. I have bad body more than I should have been. I was over 300 pounds working in a heated environment, working every day, and I dropped all the weight, and then I ended up hurting myself even further from there. And then my doctor told me not to do anything over 20 pounds, so I went against her rules, and I did it anyways, and I kept injuring myself.
What kind of work does your father do?
He works as a U-Haul business associate and mechanic as well.
When did you live with your father?
I lived with my father in January, I believe it was 8th.
January of what year?
Of 2022, sorry.
After you have been disabled all this time because of all the heavy work?
Yes.
Let me give a general outline of what this case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
You and your fiancée were living where?
We were living with my father.
No, before you lived with your father.
My father.
Her father.
In what state?
Wyoming.
There come a time when your father either said it's enough or you decided that you were no longer happy in Wyoming?
It was a conflict with his girlfriend that came about.
Whatever it was. Yeah. If it was a conflict with his girlfriend, your father told you to skedaddle.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And you called your father?
No, I didn't call my father.
Who did?
My father called me.
You mean just out of the blue?
Yeah, I've had a few concussions, Your Honor, and I don't remember a lot.
Okay, we're going to get there. In any event, you had a discussion with your father that you didn't have a place to live, you didn't have a job, she didn't have a job, you had no money. Her father was kicking you out of the house, and he drove cross-country to get you.
Yes, ma'am.
In what month?
It was in January.
January of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
How many miles did he drive to come and get you?
I think 1,000 miles, maybe.
Each way?
Each way, probably about 2,000 total, something like that.
Okay, so he drove 2,000 miles to come and get you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he brought you back to his house.
Yes, ma'am.
And you weren't working.
Yes, ma'am.
And the girlfriend wasn't working.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you weren't working, the girlfriend wasn't working, you had no money, so your father was taking care of your expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And now you're suing him. And you're suing him for a host of things, which I'm going to give you a relatively short time to tell me about. But one of the things that your fiance says is that your father owes you for wages because you worked for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Doing what?
I was doing U-Haul work, basically.
What is U-Haul work?
Oh, sorry. I'll explain. Sorry, ma'am. Basically, what we do...
Not basically. I don't want to hear basically.
Sorry.
I want to hear what you were doing.
I would hook up U-Hauls. I would also clean and inspect all the vehicles.
Just a second. Hook up the U-Hauls.
Hook up the U-Hauls.
Clean and inspect them.
Clean and inspect them.
What does it involve in...
Every single surface of the innards of the vehicle. Basically, the steering wheel, the floor plates, the radio, everything.
And when you hook them up, explain how you hook something up.
How I hook something up is just backing up, lining up with axle.
So you'd have to drive?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're driving a car and backing up?
Yes, ma'am. And
so you're using a rear view mirror?
Yes.
And yourself. You're looking to see where you're backing up because you have to use both.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then you hook them. Well, what else did you do for your father?
I also did paperwork for him, doing like inventory stocks and stuff like that.
Terrific.
Basically.
Not basically. I don't want to hear basically. Basically is a filler
sorry,
word.
Ma'am. What else was I doing? I would sweep, clean up his shop. I would do a lot of things.
Okay, all while you were unable to do anything else.
Yes, ma'am. I would.
Just a second.
What were you saying?
After your back issues, after your concussions, after whatever other injuries that you had from working someplace. By the way, you don't have a lawsuit pending against anybody, do you?
No. Ma'am.
So it's just a question of fetching, other than maybe trying to collect a disability somewhere along the line from the federal government. You were able to hook up U-Hauls, clean them and sanitize them, all while you're telling me that you're unemployable because of all the injuries that you had.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okie dokie. You understand how ridiculous that sounds to me.
Yes.
I only had one other case in my recent memory that sounded anywhere familiar to this story, and that was a man that was also receiving disability because he had a bad back. He was the plaintiff in a lawsuit suing someone because he had built them an outdoor patio deck alone, and he wasn't paid the $6,000 for it. But he had been collecting disability for a back ailment for 31 years from the federal government. That sound odd to you?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it sound odd to you that you're able to put hookups together and sweep and everything else, but you can't say, do you want a hamburger with your fries or fries with a burger?
Yes, ma'am.
That sounds peculiar to you. Right. So I don't want to hear about work. Okay, that's the first thing. And you lived in your father's house for how long, by the way?
I think we only lived there for the first month, and then we ended up getting moved out to a camper for like the last bit of the, I think, 2 months that we were there.
I don't know what you're suing for. You want to tell me? I don't want to see any pictures of what? Of the truck?
The parts that were missing.
I don't care. I don't care. After 2 weeks, he could burn that truck. It's on his property without his permission. Let's go.
And later today.
That you said perfectly. I would ask her for $50 or $100, and she would lend me that.
"19-year-old Kaya Eliasov and Brandon Blanchard claim Brandon's father, William Blanchard, owes for unpaid wages and stolen property. William is countersuing for moving expenses and property damage.
Now, I'm not entertaining your wages because you can't work. That's what he just swore to. He can't work. That's why he's unemployed. He has 4 disc problems. I think he said 4. Whatever. He can't work. Forget him now. I want you to tell me what you're suing this man who drove 2,000 miles to rescue you after your father threw you out. I want you to tell me what you think he owes you for.
For the stolen property of my vehicle.
What stolen property of your vehicle?
He stole my toolbox with the key with it and also parts that went to my vehicle.
Did you take her toolbox?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Next. What's next?
Whenever I confronted him about it.
About what?
About the toolbox when we went to go get my truck, then he would say what he just said, that he never took it. But when I asked him where did the key go for it, he denied he would just property in his possession.
Okay. And that's what you have. Your vehicle, while you were living there, was on his property, and therefore he's responsible for the toolbox.
Yes, ma'am. When he kicked us out and then told us to come back for the truck, he was going to give us 2 weeks to have it towed.
Because the truck wasn't working, but he let the truck stay on his property for 2 weeks.
Yes.
What else are you suing him for?
Just for the repairs on the vehicle.
On what vehicle?
On my truck. That whenever I went to go get the truck off his property after that 2 weeks, that's when the toolbox was missing, and I also looked under the hood, and there was wires hanging out, and those wires, I do have pictures.
So just a second. Let me ask you this question. You said, you said he gave you 2 weeks to come and get your truck off his property. The truck was inoperable when you left it on his property. Wasn't running.
No, ma'am.
That's right. You did not come to get it off his property in 2 weeks. You came after the 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
How much after the 2 weeks?
I think just like a couple days after. We came back on April 23rd and we left the property April 6th.
So it was after the 2 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, let's get there fast because I'm quickly losing patience with 2 ingrates.
Here's the pictures.
I don't want to see any pictures of what? Of the truck?
The parts that were missing.
I don't care. I don't care. After 2 weeks, he could burn that truck. It's on his property without his... You're suing him for nonsense. Let us move on.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. Okay. Now, Mr. Blanchard.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a countersuit that actually you wouldn't have brought now because you didn't have an agreement with your son and his fiancée when you went to get him. How many children do you have?
8 altogether.
Prior to going to get him cross-country, when had you seen him?
Been several years.
Tell me about the conversation when he contacted you.
He said, Dad, I have no place to go. We can try to stay with her grandmother. I offered, said, I'll come get you if you have no place to go.
And then?
Within a week, I dropped everything to go get him.
Now, when your son and his fiancée came to you, sir, did you put him to work in your business?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long was he in your business?
Altogether, maybe less than 90 days.
Did he work in your business after they moved out of your house? He says they only lived in your house for 30 days.
They were in the house 45 days, and then they were left another 45 days inside of a camper.
Can you tell me why they moved into a camper?
There was a chance of my daughter coming home, and they were living in her room at the time. And so I wanted to, yes, Your Honor.
Stuff, but they slept in the camper.
Yes, Your Honor.
All true?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And he paid for the camper. He paid for the electricity, water, etc. when you were now. She wasn't working. Did he also pay for the food? Did you eat in the house or did you eat in the camper?
No, ma'am. We were getting food stamps. So we paid for our own food. And we also helped them with their food as well.
Why were you getting food stamps?
For the short bit of time because he recommended to get on food stamps.
Had you been on food stamps when you lived in Wyoming?
No, ma'am.
Okay, how did you support yourself there?
I was working at the time.
And what about him?
A driving company, basically. We go around, pick up food from places and
So you were able to drive?
Yes.
Oh.
For only a little bit.
With all those injuries? Amazing. Okay. I would like you to testify, sir, now to the conversation that you had with your son with regard to compensation for coming to pick him up in Wyoming. Be very careful what you say to me.
I told my son before I picked him up, I said, you need to pay me back for this trip.
Did you tell him what for the trip? I mean,
yes, for all expenses. All expenses for the trip.
For the expenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
How was he supposed to do that? He wasn't working.
He was supposed to get a nighttime job on top of working, helping me out around my shop.
Did he help you around your shop?
He
You
did.
said about 90 days. Did you pay him?
No, Your Honor.
Well, if he worked for you for 90 days and you didn't pay him at all, and it cost you a couple of $1,000s, according to you,
yes, Your Honor. I was hoping just because that's what he really wanted to do.
No good deed goes unpunished. You went and you got him, and now they're suing you, but their case is dismissed. They have no case against you. It's all a bunch of nonsense and ridiculous. But likewise, sir, your counterclaim is for the expenses that you incurred in going to pick them up. I don't actually think that there was an agreement to pay you back for your expenses, but even if there was an agreement to pay you back for your expenses. The fact that he worked for 90 days without any compensation, I think, more than compensates you for that. As a result of that, your counterclaim as well is dismissed. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
You try to do your best for your kids whenever you can. This is no different.
It's been very difficult growing up.
I hope he gets his life together.
I don't want anything to do with him.
I'll always be there for him.
It's time to cut the strings. I'm done with him.
That young man sounded as if he was intelligent. That doesn't mean he was smart. That means he was intelligent. Because at age 19 or 20, to have already figured out that you can't work because you have a bad back unless you really have to work. If you really have to work, then you can work for your father. That's a bad mindset for a very young person. That means that your life is really going nowhere. You're not preparing yourself to do it.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh một chú ếch. Mình sẽ lấy màu xanh này tô vào mặt chú ếch. Thân chú ếch màu xanh lá cây. Oh my God. Nay mình sẽ tô màu hồng. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một chú ếch. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo.